What? Have we
Oh, how's
started
everybody
yet?
doing today? Hope you're all doing fantastic on this Thursday, May 1st, the first of the month. We got some stories, some things to talk about today. First, we're going to watch. Oh my God, what is this? The President of the United States thought maybe that the MS-13 meme is real. Whoa, what is that story? I'd never heard of this. What is this story, Adam?
I mean, he held it up in the Oval Office, right? So he had to
Okay,
know.
maybe.
He's like, look, this meme is very good. You should all share it on your social media accounts.
Mhm. I do want the future where the president is holding up, printing out screenshots of like X posts and holding them
Mhm.
up on camera. Right? Is that the future that we're now going towards? Because I would love that future. I want X to be more involved in presidential government decisions. Okay. Then we can
Yeah.
move, like when it's a Democrat president, it could be blue sky, right? When it's a Republican president, it could be X.
It's so funny in all these retail outlets and at the dentist offices, they always give you an iPad, right? So you can imagine the president holding up an iPad to show it. But no,
Yes,
he's like,
exactly.
take this to the color printer. I need a print of this.
That's a good point. I completely even think about that. Yeah, he does it. Why does he just hold up a pad? No, he has to have it printed out. Well, Trump, famously doesn't like technology. He doesn't even
Yes.
send a tweet. He has a woman who maybe has a parasocial relationship with
Who
him,
is in love with him, wants to suck his D.
who might be in love. Listen, she wants to suck his huge mind,
Hmm.
okay? His
Yes.
huge
Oh yeah, that's
American
what she's
brain,
after.
right? But yeah,
Yes.
no, because yeah, there's this report, okay, if you guys don't remember this report from the very credible sources of the two women who hate Donald Trump.
Oh, you're right.
the
Those
two, the two,
crazy bitches.
the two catty women talking about how yeah, there's this woman who like follows Trump around and like tweets all his things for him.
Right.
So,
Yes. I've seen
but
pictures of her in that. They did like a documentary of him where he was.
oh, okay.
Have you haven't seen that?
I haven't seen. Is she hot?
I mean, I don't remember. It's been a while, so
Mm,
I don't remember being obnoxiously ugly. But this was the first time that I saw Trump basically dictating a tweet, and she's taking dictation. And I thought, wow, that's how Trump tweets. He brings the girl over to the computer and tells her what to say.
it's very it's it's like very 1950s. Take a note, sweetie. Snaps his fingers like a woman appears. Like
Right. Well,
take a
it's interesting because
dictation.
there's always, punctuation errors and stuff. He
Well, that's pretty
capitalizes
bad.
weird stuff and
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, his misspells things. And I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking, oh, well, the girl's hot. So he doesn't want to tell her. He doesn't want to correct her.
Yeah,
He's
see,
like, you misspelled that. Why are you
this whole
capitalizing the? It's
this
not, it's in the middle
whole
of the sentence.
this whole time, everyone's been attacking Trump, okay, for like weird spelling errors or the
Mhm.
Kofefe tweet,
Right.
but it turns out
It's
it was
actually this
some
hot
broad's
millennial.
fault the whole time, some dumb broad's fault the whole time. And Trump is such a gentleman, okay? He's such a gentleman that he just runs with it. He's like, no, that was mine. I did that. I
He
did it on
loves it.
purpose. Okay.
So we have not watched this MSNBC clip, but I was immediately curious what the far left's reaction was to this Trump thing. Obviously, I mean, I think obviously Trump is a boom. Like
Mm-hmm.
I thought the clip was hilarious, and
He was
the fact that
hilarious.
he keeps pushing the
Yeah.
reporter. Maybe we should watch. Well, we'll watch this. We'll see if the clip comes up in this, and if it
Right.
doesn't, we'll watch the actual clip. So for
Yeah.
those of you who haven't
Okay.
seen it, most of you have probably seen it just because it lit the internet on fire yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Begin with new comments from President Trump defending his administration's decision to send a Maryland man to a prison in El Salvador. In an interview with ABC News yesterday, the president was asked about the wrongful removal of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from the United States. The president denied any mistake.
Is his name Kilmar? Is that his name?
That's a very unfortunate name. Yes.
Kilmar. He's got
That's how you know he's a bad guy. It's in his name. Okay.
he's
He
got
really wants to. He
Kill.
wants. Listen,
His first name is
I'm good
Kill.
friends. I'm good friends now with Bill Maher, and this man, he wants to kill Bill Maher, so I had to send him out.
Oh, yeah.
Send him out of the country. Now,
That's
before I would have
good.
let him in the country because I didn't like Bill, but after our little dinner,
After
I
our
enjoyed it a
summit
lot.
that everyone is losing their minds over.
Yes,
Now
after
I
Kid
like
Rock
him.
wooed us with his rock melodies.
So is it this? They're calling him the Maryland man, right? Not the MS-13 member.
Yes.
This is this the guy that beat up a bunch of people? No, we talked about
What?
that guy differently. That's a different guy.
Who? There's a guy who beat up people?
The guy
Wait.
that the judge shuffled out of her courtroom.
Oh, no,
who
that was a different
actually
guy. That's a
assaulted
different
like
guy.
3 of his roommates because they
Yeah,
didn't want
yeah,
him
yeah,
to play his Katy Perry too loud.
Yes, that's a
Yeah.
that's a different guy.
Yeah.
That's the case of the loud Katy Perry fan. Yeah.
Yes. So that's a different guy. This guy, I believe, was standing in front of a Home Depot or something like that, right?
Yes.
And they
yes,
they
and they
nabbed
grabbed him and a
ICE
bunch of
came
other
by.
people. Yes. Yeah.
He was
right.
gainfully employed at the Home Depot,
He was just trying to
standing
get some
there,
day labor. Okay?
trying to day laborer, right?
Yeah. Right. He's trying
His
to build
wife
some
is an
homes.
American. The Maryland man.
This man was single-handedly trying to solve the housing crisis, Adam. Okay.
The Maryland man.
Why
who
are
was
we
here-
why are we
who was in the
deporting
country?
our
He was
housing
here
crisis?
illegally, right?
It's free, cheap labor. We need more slaves to build our homes
The
to get
guy
the
was
housing
here
crisis, the housing
illegally,
prices
okay.
down. All right.
So why is MSNBC calling him the Maryland man? The illegal. Why
it's-
did they say the illegal immigrant?
Well, it
Why don't they-
obviously
the
sounds
migrant
better.
worker.
It obviously sounds better if you say the Maryland man than the guy who was here
okay.
illegally.
Sure.
Okay.
Was made and dodged questions about following the Supreme Court's order to facilitate his return.
Well, the lawyer that said it was a mistake was here a long time, was not appointed by us, should not have said that, And just so you understand, the person that you're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife.
Listen, we're talking about branding, okay, for the president.
Mhm.
If you want to like make us think that this guy's like a criminal and a rapist, all right,
Mhm.
don't use the word cookie. He's a tough cookie. That's like what your grandma says about like you. And you're like, he was really good in the soccer match today. He was a tough cookie.
He was a tough cookie.
That's not. You had to be like, no,
Right.
this was at least like the bad hombre was kind of funny, right?
Right.
Tough cookie, like no, come on. We
This
need a
guy
better.
was a hardened
better phrase.
criminal.
Yes,
Let's
this
back
was a
up little.
genocidal child eater.
We want to hear him list off all the bad things this guy did
Okay.
before he totally floofs a goof on the
Yeah, okay.
on the hand tattoo.
Right.
You're talking about, you're making this person sound, this is a MS-13 gang member, a tough cookie, been in lots of skirmishes, beat the hell out of his wife, and the wife was petrified to even talk about him, okay? This is not an innocent, wonderful gentleman from
I'm
Maryland.
not saying he's a good guy. It's about the rule of law. The order from the Supreme Court stands,
Came
sir.
into our country illegally.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
But the court has
he's
ordered
not.
you to facilitate that his
I'm not
release.
the one making this decision. We have
You're
lawyers
the
that don't
president.
want to do this.
But the
Terry.
buck stops in this
No,
office.
Has the Supreme Court weighed in on this? Let's set that aside. We'll look into that after
They
we get
did.
through this.
They did. Yes, they did.
Oh, they did?
yes.
What happened?
They said that the U.S. has to quote facilitate the getting him back, and then there's became this whole kerfuffle, this whole goofloofing about what does facilitate mean exactly.
Right.
And but it's so this is like
Oh
this
my
is classic.
God.
This is classic Trump. Okay.
Mhm.
So like you have some authority of Supreme Court, you have someone, they come in, they say like, oh, you have to go do something. And for weeks, the Trump administration is like, well, we can't do anything because he's an El Salvadorian citizen and he's in El Salvador. We have no control over them. Nothing I could do about it. And that's what they've been saying for weeks to kind of like, defend against this, what the Supreme Court said. And then now in an interview, he's like, oh, if I wanted to, I could pick up the phone and call him, have him back if I wanted to, but fuck that guy.
Facilitate means to make easier. So, I mean, how easy do we have to make it? Do we have to call him? Jeez.
You have to pick, you had him in the Oval Office, right?
Mhm.
And it would have been really awkward to ask him there in person, like, hey, could you do us a solid and, send that guy back, kind of send him by mistake.
Yeah, I remember.
That would have been very
yeah.
awkward.
Seems like he would have. Look, he seemed like the president of El Salvador knew the score and was doing exactly what Trump told him to do. So,
What?
Yeah.
Why would you say that? Why would you
so
suggest such a thing?
So he's breaking a Supreme Court order here. That's not good.
Well, it depends again how you interpret
the word facilitate.
which I don't believe.
So our
I'd
attorneys
have to have another Supreme Court,
so he's
judicial on that.
appealing it, right, to the Supreme Court.
Well, no, they'll probably have to go again because they'll say, "Oh, we tried to facilitate through their definition, and then the Supreme Court's going to have to actually
They're
weigh in a little
appealing.
bit more specific. They're not appealing. Someone else is going to. They're going to have to resue the Trump administration. They probably already have, and go through all this shit because that's like this right now. The lower court judges are like demanding that the Trump administration show how they've actually facilitated this action. I don't know if they've complied with any of that stuff yet. So this interview is going to show up in a Supreme Court case. The transcript of this interview is going to show up as here's Donald Trump saying that he could facilitate some kind of release and is not doing that.
Yeah, he said pretty point blankly, I could do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh.
Then he also said, well, I can't, the lawyer, I don't know. It's kind of weird because at the same time, he's like, well, I'll do, the lawyers tell me what to do or something, which, obviously it doesn't sound great, but.
How do you think this plays out politically? Because it does, just optically, people on the left fighting for MS-13 gang members, like this being the top story, it's not really going to read to the public, in my personal opinion, as this is an infringement on American rights that we should all be afraid of. This is going to read as the left once again defending hardened criminals that don't belong in our country.
Well, this is why, you asked the question in the beginning, why is it framed the Maryland man, right? So the left framing is going to be, Trump is sending people to prison without due process, innocent people to prison in other countries without due process. And then the rights narrative is Donald Trump is cleaning America away from the MS-13 gang members. And then so the question is like, what is like the normie take going to be from that?
That is the question.
I believe so far, based on polling, it has gone negative to Trump. So they're being more swayed by the left wing framing of the story than the right wing framing.
Trump's poll numbers are down.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh.
No. I follow the law. You want me to follow the law? If I were the president that just wanted to do anything, I'd probably keep him right where he is.
The law is saying something different. The president also got into a heated exchange about whether Abrego Garcia is a gang member, claiming Abrego Garcia has the tattoos to prove it.
Even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
He had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped. So let me
That was Photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry.
There's a level of irony here that is very interesting, very funny, very delicious to me. Okay. So you have this seemingly weird interaction where it's unclear whether the president actually believes that picture he held up that said MS-13.
That's seems like unclear. That's crystal clear.
Okay, it's crystal clear to me, but there's like a lot of coke about this, is what I'm trying to say. All right.
Okay.
So it seems like Donald Trump believes that picture he held up was a literal true picture where it said MS-13 on the guy's knuckles, that Donald Trump thinks he literally has the letters and numbers MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. Okay.
Yes.
It seems like that's what Trump believes.
That's the story. Yeah.
Right. Now, there is a little bit of ambiguity in it. And I've noticed online after the story came out that, obviously a lot of the people who are defending Trump are hiding in the ambiguity, being like, well, Trump didn't literally think that. He was just, speaking in Trump talk. He understands that they were just symbols.
No,
right.
Fucking cope.
I know. This is very cope. But the irony here is, if I was this guy's boss, okay, I would probably fire him after this interview.
Oh yeah,
totally. You have Donald. He's sitting across Donald Trump. The whole interview is very aggressive, obviously, and it's ABC and all this stuff. And Donald Trump he just held out his hands and he's handing him this pot of gold. Okay, he's handing him a golden basketball, and he's like, "Please dunk this in my fucking face," as I explain that I think that the guy literally had MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. And this guy is so stupid. He's so concentrated on getting to his list of talking points that he keeps wanting to move on.
Yeah.
What is wrong? He's like, let's move on. Let's move on. Are you insane? The president is handing you the golden dunk that you want so desperately, and you keep trying to move on. You fucking idiot. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's unclear because he's giving Trump a bunch of outs here. And it's funny. Trump doesn't even realize that he's like helping him.
Yes.
It's like, no, we're going to stay on this, you stupid motherfucker.
That's why it's the irony.
Yeah.
He is giving Trump outs by trying to move on and saying it was photoshopped and kind of being vague or whatever. And Trump keeps pulling it back. And the irony when Trump is like, I chose you. This is the big break for you. Yes, this is your big break. And you're fucking it up.
Well, that's why it's funny that he says that, because obviously he is giving him outs. He is trying to help him out.
Yes.
Like he's playing along with his big break, and he's like, oh, you don't really understand what's going on here.
Well, do you think that's intentional? I don't think that's intentional. I think he's just an idiot.
That he's helping him out? Oh, he's totally helping him out.
You think that, okay, interesting. You think the reporter is intentionally trying to help Trump?
Why wouldn't he do the follow-up? Like any reporter, all these reporters hate Trump's guts. They're looking for that dunk. Like Caitlin, what's her name on CNN? Caitlin Collins. Yeah. She's going for the follow-up. Holy fucking shit. She's been dreaming of this day.
Well, I've seen the entire interview, and the questions are very, I think they're fair, but they're very aggressive. Like, it doesn't seem like he's, it's not the alternate media pool where they just say, Mr. President, why does the media not accept how great you are? Right.
Right.
He's asking, aggressive, tough questions, and he's asking follow-ups and all this other stuff.
Right.
So based on that,
you saying fair though, so much of the other media is completely unfair, right?
Well, I mean, fair in terms of like asking a question about something that's actually happening.
Right. Yes.
But so to me, it wouldn't make sense that person would then try to sweep for Trump after like this. So my interpretation is that he's just so fixated on like, I have these questions I have to ask the president, I have limited time, that his brain just can't like stop and take a breath and then realize that he's been handed gold and he's just trying to move on.
Yeah.
That's my interpretation.
It could be either way. Yeah.
But you're not being very nice.
Last week, President Trump posted this photo on Truth Social, claiming this is the knuckle of Abrego Garcia. But the words MS-13 are photoshopped onto the image.
It's not even a good match with the tattoo.
No.
I mean, it's so obvious.
Total boomer
so
Trump
obvious.
Here. He just saw a picture. Nobody needs to call up Trump and pretend to be like Barron with like a deep fake and be like, I need money. I got arrested. Because he would send it in a heartbeat.
You could do it like a computer voice and they'd be like,
exactly.
Barron.
Hello, Dad. This is Barron. I need money for my crypto, please.
So I saw this. The first time I saw this, it's got like a marijuana leaf, a happy face, a cross, and a skull on each of the fingers for those of you who are just listening.
Right.
So, and above that, someone has photoshopped MS-13. And I immediately was like, okay, M for marijuana. Oh, I guess S is a smiley face right there.
Right.
Number one. Jesus is number one. Why is the skull? Why is the skull the 3? I guess it does make some kind of sense here.
I assumed the one for the cross was just like the cross is supposed to be shaped like a 1.
That's Christ is King. Come on.
he's a Fuentes fan. Okay. He's become a Christian nationalist. And then I heard people, because I looked at the skull and I'm like, okay, I don't get that one at all.
Yeah, what's the skull?
So people were, I think this is pretty flimsy. They were trying to say that because the skull has 3 holes in it, the 2 eye holes and the nose hole, that means it's a 3.
Yeah, okay.
That seemed kind of
tenuous. So people are arguing over this.
Right.
But Trump is like, no, it literally says MS-13.
It's funny because this is classic. Like when he first held up this photo, the media was all like, Donald Trump held up a Photoshop picture to try to convince the boomers that he literally had MS-13 on his knuckles. And I was like, That's not true. That's stupid. Media's overreaching. Everyone who saw this picture knows that it's supposed to be like symbolic representation. It's supposed to be like, oh, this is like what the symbols mean, right? Everyone knows that. That was my thought process. Boy, was I wrong. Apparently, the president thought that it was real. Okay.
Yeah. How does he come to this belief? How does he come to this belief?
That's a great question.
Well, I'm curious if he looked at it and he thought that, or someone told him, oh yeah, it says MS-13 on his knuckles. I mean, how do you come to this belief?
I think Stephen Miller, because he seems like a shady individual, right? You look at his face, you don't trust him. He's got kind of like a very weaselly looking face. All right.
Right.
I think he slipped this to the president and he's like, Donald, here it is. Here's how you know that your administration is doing the right thing, right? He's probably got the ICE director behind him because they don't want to admit that they maybe fucked up. And they're like, oh, this is the libtard media. Okay, we never make a mistake here at ICE. We're so based. We're so good. Here, you can even look. His knuckle literally says MS-13. Okay, it literally says that. And the libtards are so dumb. They're still defending him. And they slip him this picture and Trump holds it up and thinks it's true and never, fact checks it.
I don't know why they wouldn't do the Photoshop better. It makes absolutely no sense that the MS-13 is a completely different color.
It's like a different font. Maybe Trump needs reading glasses.
It's like a type of graphical font too. That's why it is unrealistic.
It's Times New Roman. He had the Times New Roman 12-point font on his knuckles.
Flat. It doesn't it doesn't conform to the contours of the hand in any way, shape, or form. I mean, this is not going to pass muster. I mean,
okay, so what is your
reading glasses on?
So what is your theory here? How did this happen? And how does Trump think that this is real?
Well, I mean, I would give him more charity, and maybe he didn't really look at it closely. Maybe they just handed it to him. He held it up and thought that it was tattooed on there because he didn't really inspect it well, and he just kind of got this narrative in his mind. I don't know that anybody came to him and said, "Oh yeah, that's literally tattooed on there."
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know how the belief came to him, but I don't think it was nefarious. I don't think anyone was trying to. I think they handed it to him and assumed that he would know. Oh, those are photoshopped on there.
It's even worse than what I said.
How is that worse?
I think to me, it's better if people in his administration tried to pull a fast one on Trump versus they're like, oh, obviously Trump is smart enough to know this, and they hand him something and Trump just doesn't even get it.
He doesn't. Yeah.
He just totally boomers the situation.
Well, no one's being dishonest in this situation. I mean, Trump is unintentionally being dishonest, right?
Well, I think you're probably right, though. I was being kind of facetious in my retelling of this. I think, that they just gave him this picture. They just assumed he would know, or no one thought to say specifically that they can literally say that.
It's obvious. Why would you say that?
Right.
Why would you say, oh, and by the way, the numbers are photoshopped on here, so just keep that in mind.
Well, no, we probably just said something like, oh, here's a picture showing that it says MS-13 on his knuckle.
That's exactly what they said. Yeah.
And in a classic Seinfeld-esque, Arrested Development-esque comedy of errors, he just glances at it and interpret that to mean that it literally said MS-13, holds up this picture, and then believes this going forward.
Yeah.
But
he doesn't even acknowledge the symbols.
No.
He doesn't do the game that we played.
Right. But now you get in this problem because it's like, can anyone actually tell Trump that they fucked up or that he fucked up? Or are they just going to have to go forward and be like, no, that was a picture.
He's not going to let go of Stephen Miller just because
obviously they're not going to fire him. Yes. Obviously he's not going to fire him, but do you think anyone's going to tell him no, it was photoshopped, right?
Trump at this moment knows that he's been made a fool of.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And he's yelling at somebody right now. He's yelling at Stephen Miller.
Well, he's yelling at whoever gave him that fucking picture and didn't tell him it was photoshopped on.
Okay. Okay.
Don't you think? I mean, you think he's just going to let it go? He's going to be like, no worries. Who cares?
I don't know.
Forget about it.
I want to believe that that's true. But I could believe that he's so isolated in his own sphere that they could never tell him, and they just say, well, it's just fake news, and he would never know.
So look, it's going to come up it's going to come up in future interviews.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to continue to cling to this story? No, come on. He can't do that.
Okay,
So
that's a good point.
As soon as he gets interviewed again, someone's going to ask him, do you really believe that MS... Like,
right.
This has legs.
You're right. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, so they will have to tell him, because he will have to construct some kind of... I mean, I say this, but obviously Trump just shoots from the hip all the time anyway. So any construction of defense is going to be
being sarcastic.
Useless. Yeah, I was just being sarcastic or something.
I was being sarcastic.
You're right. So I guess someone
he
will
doesn't
have to
understand
tell him.
my sense of humor.
Right. Someone will have to tell him that it did not actually, in fact, say MS-13.
I did it to trigger the libs. Oh my God. MSNBC's news cycle was hilarious. We were all laughing in the Oval Office.
There you go. It was a big prank. It was just a big prank.
You know that would take with so many right-wing social media influencers. They would be all
I don't
over
think he's going to say that. Well, okay,
they would broadcast that story everywhere.
Here's my problem whenever I try to like predict what Trump's going to say. I think about it a little too logically. All right. And so does everyone else, all his defenders, because like it was the same thing with the UV light bleach thing. Like, why didn't he just say the thing that like all his defenders had said? So it's the same thing with this. Like, yeah, like with that one, I was like, oh, well, he was talking about the light. So then when he's asked about it again, why does he not just say that? Instead, he says he was joking. Right. And it's like, why would you say that? And so it's the same thing with this. He could very easily say what defenders are saying, which is, oh, I didn't mean literally. I was just talking about like, that's what they represented. But he doesn't have a good track record of just giving those answers.
That's a hard cope by people, because the interviewer literally says it didn't have the characters.
Right.
What does he say? Let's back it up a little.
And the full clip goes on.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says...
See, he says specifically.
Yes.
He didn't have the letter MS, and Trump says...
MS-13.
That was Photoshop. So...
He says he did have the letter MS.
I know.
How do you... No, he said letter. He's
I know.
Specifically talking about the letter.
I know.
I mean, I don't know.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview.
This doesn't, I mean, it's weird that people would, this is not the hill I would die on if you're defending Trump over this.
No.
Yeah.
What should they do?
Hackman is probably saying this is proof of his cognitive decline, right? He's probably got 6 cognitive decline videos out this morning.
Right. So what is the defense? What defense do you construct for this? You just say it's not a big deal?
I was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. That's the defense.
He could go with the Elon route. He could say, look, I was trolling him.
Right? All right. There you go.
I think people would. That would be the alpha move, right? Of course. I was messing with him. I was playing with him, toying with him.
Posted this photo on Truth Social claiming this is the knuckle of Abrego Garcia. But the words MS-13 are photoshopped onto the image.
No shit, Mika. Thank you. None of us knew that.
The actual tattoos are of various.
Look, the audience is pretty dumb, so I guess she's got to just come right out and say it. I don't look, even in this picture of a printout of a photo.
I know.
It's so obvious.
I know.
Oh my God. Maybe we're just trained. We're completely sucker proof.
Well, Trump is a boomer. Okay. He doesn't look at, he doesn't understand these things.
You could do,
he's an old man.
You could copy your driver's license in Studio Ghibli, and he would fall for it. Oh yeah,
that's
your legal ID. Oh yes, looks good.
Look, Trump. Here's how you know Garcia wasn't a criminal. Here's a photo of him
in Studio Ghibli.
Character. He's fighting demons and protecting innocent children. Okay, look.
Oh man.
Symbols. Where do we begin with this? I mean, on a number of levels. And Danny, we have questions for you about this specific case, but Willie, he's been moved. Abrego Garcia has been moved to another prison. He's been sent to a prison in El Salvador. He was moved from the notorious prison to another one, and there's still several hundred other people who didn't get due process, who are in the most miserable place on earth, as it's described, and the president is just letting them all just hang there.
And no less than the Supreme Court, as Terry Moran pointed out, has ordered the president to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia. That's as high up as you can go. And yet he says, I'm following the law. The lawyers have said I can't do this. I believe I've heard that the president doesn't like the idea that's out there that he's too weak to bring back. Remember, they've said, well, we can't, now that he's in El Salvador.
Well, this is good. At least they're not focusing on the flub from the photo.
Well, I'm sure they will at some point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting for.
Yeah.
The story, the thing people are constantly going to say is he was in the country illegally. Like, he doesn't deserve due process because he's not an American citizen. Due process is for Americans. Deporting is much different than
Sending someone to jail. Or prison.
Sending him to jail. He's from El Salvador, though, right?
Yes.
So they sent him back to El Salvador, and El Salvador just incarcerated him?
No. That's the problem. Is that if you had a situation where you deport the person and then their government on their own does whatever their due process situation is and puts them in prison, that would be a completely different situation.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened. America has a specific agreement with El Salvador. It says we're going to just give you people for you to put directly into prison. And they agreed to that. And then
El Salvador doesn't have due process or anything like that?
I have no clue what theirs is beyond that. But it's kind of this weird situation because if they're doing it through an American request or something, does El Salvador even have a legal process to adjudicate those claims that America is sending them these people?
Right.
And then it gets even more tricky or weird when you have, the Trump administration is sending Venezuelans to El Salvador in prison.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
So
I can't remember if El Salvador is the place that locked up all the gangs.
That is. Well, that's the prison that they're sending them to.
Oh, okay. Because they had a huge problem in El Salvador, and they basically just went the mass incarceration route, and now everything is getting much, much better in El Salvador, which I think they're
good for them.
They're like, jail them and let our people live in peace.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's differently if you're a country that's in the midst of just
totally different
collapse because you have all these cartels running around and shit, and you start throwing people in jail in your country. It's very different than this situation.
Yeah, I don't know why why they wouldn't just work it so they send them back and let El Salvador do with them what they will. I don't know why it's like, no, you must incarcerate this person. He wasn't this guy in America and then was deported and came back to America?
No, he was in America. They were going to deport him because he came in illegally in like 2013 or something. I don't remember the exact year. And they kind of went through the proceedings, and then he said, he made the case to the judge that says, you can't deport me to El Salvador because I ran away from El Salvador for my own safety because there was El Salvadorian gangs that were threatening me and my family. The U.S. courts agreed with that, and they gave a protective order that he couldn't be deported back to El Salvador.
Is this a guy with his folks had the tortilla business?
Yes.
Is that him?
Really? Is that guy, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that actually sounded legit, but I didn't do enough research on the story to.
Well, I don't know if anyone has done research beyond whatever the court documents said. So,
right.
On that story, the legitimacy of that story.
The court bought it, though.
The court believed it.
Right.
Or the Justice Department said there's nothing we could do. Well, of course he could. He's Donald Trump. He's the president of the United States. He could call because obviously he has the president of El Salvador under his thumb and say, send him back. It's just that he doesn't want to.
Why send him back? Why not just say, take him out of prison and release him in El Salvador? And then go ahead.
Well, what they'd have to do is legally what they would have to do is send him back to the U.S. The U.S. would have to have another hearing or a court case to to make the determination whether to remove the protective order or not. And then if they decide to remove the protective order, that it's no longer necessary, then I guess they could deport him to El Salvador. But then it's like, yeah, why don't they just deport him to El Salvador? Why do they have to send him to a prison specifically without ever really adjudicating this claim about him being a criminal or not?
Yeah, they just did it completely wrong.
Yes.
So,
but that's sort of the way that most of these stories are going through. It's not just like deport someone who's in the country illegally. It's like I'm sending them to prison for maybe ever with actually having a court case to make a determination about them.
there's still pending litigation with him in the United States. He has a hearing.
Well, he doesn't, but they're still pending. They're still pending litigation, but it's mostly about, I believe it's mostly about them saying, the Trump administration is not actually following the Supreme Court, is what it's about.
Right. Well, no, he had a hearing to see if he could stay legally, right, as an asylum seeker, and the Trump administration basically put the kibosh on that.
He can't. So nowadays, or like the last 5 years or so, when people would come into the country, people come in the country and they would request asylum, and then there would have to be a hearing to make that determination. He didn't do that. He came to the country before people figured out to do that, like under Obama or Bush or something, like a while ago. He came into the country illegally, just snuck in. And then there's a problem because once you sneak into the country illegally, because he's been in the country for I think 15, 20 years or something. Once you sneak into the country illegally, it's very difficult to ask for asylum after the fact, because they're like, well, fuck you, you snuck in the country illegally. And so they kind of want you to leave the country and then come back and ask for asylum, which he didn't do.
So they just straight deport him because he's here illegally.
Well, they sent him to prison. They didn't deport him.
Right. Okay. So the court is freaking out because you incarcerated him in another country.
No,
that's what they're freaking out about.
Okay, hold on. I'll say it again. He comes to the country illegally.
No, I get all that. That's easy.
Let me just repeat it. Okay. He comes to the country illegally. He gets picked up 10 years later outside the Home Depot.
Yes,
all right?
I got that.
Yes. And then they're going to deport him. And he says, you can't deport me because my life is in danger. So the court says, oh, we can't deport him because his life is in danger.
So he becomes an asylum seeker at that moment.
He's not. No. Well, okay.
He is seeking asylum because he's saying
not,
no. threat for his life.
I understand the confusion. There's two different statuses. There's asylum, and then there's a withholding order of protection or something. It's a different status. But maybe it doesn't matter, right? It's legal minutia. So I guess, don't worry about it.
Right. So, but they're saying, no, fuck you. You're not going to seek asylum. Well, no, I guess they did because they started a case and found out about his tortilla business and all that stuff, right? So it seemed like he was on the track to actually gain asylum. And the Trump administration came in and said, no, we're just going to ignore all that and ship him out to a prison in El Salvador.
The withholding of order protection doesn't necessitate the person getting asylum status. It just means you can't deport them to that specific country. You could deport them to other countries, actually. But the problem is that other countries often won't take them. And so it creates this kind of legal limbo situation where that person basically just gets stuck in that country forever that they're in.
Right. All right.
Get him back.
I think politically there would be value in bringing him back. But, Daddy, let's get to the legality of all this. First of all, Abrego Garcia, is the president following the law?
Probably not. And I've been in that camp of not ready to declare constitutional crisis yet. I have been I've been committed to the idea that I'm not ready to say that until and unless the president says I have an order and I am openly defying it. And after this interview, there's not a lot of wiggle room left for the president because he conceded in a very smart question and answer designed to get that exact answer. I could pick up the phone and return him right now. The Supreme Court has ordered, more specifically, the Maryland District Court has ordered that the president or the administration facilitate Abrego Garcia's return. But I want to be clear, it's not his return forever and ever, happily ever after.
Understood.
We need to be realistic about this. If the administration wants to remove Kilmar Abrego Garcia, in the end, the odds are it will be able to. The only thing the Supreme Court and the District Court has ordered is that he be returned as if he was not removed in this improper way. So what the administration could do is just bring him back, give him what we call due process. And, you know, people have been talking a lot about due process like it's a magic talisman. The reality is, and as a criminal defense attorney, I think a lot of criminal defense attorneys would agree that due process is a nice thing, but a lot of times it doesn't change the inevitable outcome of a case. So
due process is not the get out of jail free card. He's basically,
No, it just means you get your whatever your legal day in court is.
right. I don't understand why Trump administration doesn't do it. They're like, we need to save money on the flight. Why? Why not?
Well,
just
I mean, Trump talked about getting oil prices down, and it costs a lot to have those airplanes go back and forth. All right, you got a penny pinch where you
I
can.
guess it would just be perceived as weakness, giving in to the left. So that's why he doesn't want to do it. He
That's
should
what it
bring
is.
it back and like go to like the hearing and
Yes.
show that this guy's a fucking total scumbag,
Well-
and be like, there you go, look, we brought him back. Make
There's
it a big
two-
circus.
Well, here, there's a couple issues. Number one, I think it's what you're saying. That he doesn't want to be perceived as like giving in to the libtard media, right? That's like the main concern, probably. The other concern would be they bring him back, they do the case, and then the case makes the determination that they still believe there's a credible threat if he returns, and thus the government can't deport him. And then
Right.
what does the Trump administration do at that point? Because then they're kind of SOL at that point. Because, and that's the thing too, is that, and then even if they bring him back, the court makes a determination that the order of protection could be removed because whatever the gang was maybe doesn't exist anymore because it was a long time ago. The court wouldn't be making a determination on whether he's part of MS-13 or not. They'd just be making a determination on whether it makes sense to have this order of protection. And so
Right.
they could still send him back, and you have the same problem. Well, you sent him to prison without having, I would argue, without having due process to make a determination whether this guy was a criminal or not, as
Right.
opposed to just deporting him to El
That is
Salvador.
the problem. That is the problem.
Yes.
They should just deport him to El Salvador and let El Salvador sort it out.
Well, that and this to me is where I see the Trump administration just kind of keeps shooting itself in the foot. Because you're right. If you were just deporting these people, they'd have a much stronger legal case to do it. Because I think the government's ability to deport people is like pretty extensive, and yeah, people would complain about it, but it's like a much weaker case in the public sphere to argue like, well, okay, well, just because someone was here illegally, even if they've been here illegally for a long time, should you still deport them or not? You know, people have their opinions about that, as opposed to I'm sending this person to prison forever.
Yeah, they have so many people that they deport and they re-enter the country. I think that's why they're doing the prison thing. They want to completely
Right.
send a message, don't fucking come back. So,
Right. That could be that'd be the excuse or the idea. I still don't know if,
yeah.
I mean, you could try to create a situation where my response to that would be, okay, if you do that, you deport someone, they come back, you put them in prison in America for like a year or two, and then you send them back again.
Oh my God, then we have to pay for them. The whole point of Trump wants to send them to prison in El Salvador
Well,
because
he's
he's
paying
like,
for it. I mean, we're paying them.
yeah, but
per
it's on the
head, so-
cheap. Yeah.
Okay, well then do that.
Like
Then you could
American
do
prison
something.
is so much more expensive. That's why he's like, we need to lock these people up in El
Well, here
Salvador.
you go.
Where
Okay.
It's like 10% of the cost.
Here you go. You make some deal with El Salvador. Now, I don't think you should put them. If someone's just coming, if we're just throwing someone in jail because they got deported and came back, I don't think they should go to the same jail as hardened cartel members, right?
Right.
And so if we want El Salvador or Mexico or some country to build some facility, some prison that we just ship them to when someone comes back from being deported, I wouldn't be against something like that.
The Trump administration doesn't want to use any of our resources in even determining if this guy is from MS-13. They don't want to.
I don't think it's not a money thing. It's
a
a time thing. They just want to be able to snap and get this done as quickly as possible.
Right.
That's what they're pushing for.
well, the resource is time,
Right. As opposed to, not
Yeah.
money resources.
and also judges, a jury, like all this fucking shit you're gonna do to adjudicate whether or not he's actually an MS-13.
I don't know if they need a
Big
jury for
fucking
that. but-
headache.
Yeah.
It's gonna take months and months and months.
Well, that's why it would make more sense to just deport them as
And
opposed to
everyone's
showing
gonna
them
come
to
out and say,
prison.
"Look at this. We spend more time we give more resources to illegal immigrants than we do to American citizens."
Yeah, but that's why, again, That's why, as I said, the Trump administration is shooting themselves in the foot. If they just deported these people, even if you have some people coming back, it still wouldn't be worth the political headache of all this stuff, of
Right.
just the continual beat. And I think part of it might be, and this might be what you said in the beginning, there is this thought process that like, oh, well, we can spin this story in such a way that it will make the left look bad and that will win over voters. And I'm skeptical of that so far.
With,
I mean, maybe
with Trump's
maybe
poll numbers dipping
Yeah.
in recent days, I'm
Right.
skeptical of that as well. So
And then there was a news story that came out today or yesterday, I guess, that was kind of similar, where there was a guy who came. Now, this is kind of interesting. This guy came to America in 2024 with his wife and child, supposedly, and they requested asylum. So they didn't sneak in. They came in and they requested asylum. They were immediately split up and all put into separate detention facilities. So they were never let out. I don't believe they were ever let out into America.
mhm.
Okay. Now, this is under Biden, by the way, too. So it kind of definitely puts a whole kibosh. It definitely would be a piece of evidence against the whole, like, they're flooding them into the country, because this is not what happened. So they split this family up. Then after, very quickly, actually, so they come in May, and in July, they say, okay, we're going to deport this guy back to Venezuela. We're not going to grant his request for asylum. But then the problem was, after that, the family was requesting that they all be deported together. The mother, there's like a 2-year-old daughter, and the father. And for some reason,
The 2-year-old daughter was in custody. Wow.
she was put into like
Foster
a
care.
foster care or something.
Yeah.
Okay, because they didn't know if she was being trafficked or whatever. And so after a few months, they say, okay, well, we're not going to give you your asylum. We're going to send you back to El Salvador. And then for some reason, that got held up all until this year. So they decided in last July that they were going to send this guy back to Venezuela. And for some reason, it just gets held up for a year. I couldn't really find a lot of information about it, other than people speculating it maybe had to do with the fact that they wanted to be deported together, the mother, the father, and the daughter. And for some reason, under the Biden administration and continuing on the Trump administration, there was this accusation that maybe this guy was part of a gang, a criminal gang. And then there was this accusation that the mother was also part of this criminal gang. And so what's happening right now is they sent the father recently to this prison in El Salvador, even though he's Venezuelan. They sent the mother, they deported her back to Venezuela, accusing her of participating in like prostitution or something, and like soliciting people to be prostitutes. And they still have the daughter in America in a foster family.
Ugh, crazy.
So that's going to be the next story that's going to blow up while this one's going up, that they're going to make, that the Trump administration is going to look not great in how this is being handled, unless they can actually provide evidence, which they haven't so far, that the accusations that both the mother and the father were part of some criminal gang. And so it's within the child's, best interest for safety to be separated from them, unless they can actually prove evidence. Because otherwise you have the situation where, again, with no due process, not only is a Venezuelan sent to prison maybe forever in El Salvador, but now a mother has her child taken away from her without due process.
They must have some evidence already if they're bringing charges, though.
They didn't bring charges. They just declared it.
Okay.
And
Based
so
on no evidence?
we don't know yet.
Well,
right?
you'd
Like,
assume they had some evidence.
We
Right.
would hope, but so far the track record hasn't been looking great for ICE so far.
Why isn't the evidence with the declaration?
That's a great question for the Trump administration.
Right.
Because the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement and they accused him of being part of the gang and doing a bunch of horrible shit. They accused her of being part of the gang and doing a bunch of horrible shit. It just says that the accusations, several media sites reached out to the Department of Homeland Security and asked what evidence they had, and they just resent the original statement with no additional evidence. So we'll see.
Oh, so
maybe
they asked them. They asked them
they
what
did
the
ask them.
evidence was.
They haven't got it yet. So I don't know. Maybe
They
we'll
asked the
see.
same thing I asked.
Yeah,
Where's
of
the fucking
course.
evidence?
Because if it's true, if those people really are part of a gang, then it makes sense that you would remove the
rid of
baby.
them. Yeah.
Right. But if they're not, and as I said, the ICE doesn't have a great track record so far in the last couple months here. So we'll see what happens if evidence is produced that shows this or not.
Someone in the comments said that Biden turned people away at the border and counted those as deportations.
Every
So
administration does that. Yeah.
That's why. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
if every administration does that, then it's apples to
It's not
apples.
because the number isn't just deportation. Or I don't know the phrase. They use some kind of language that just means like, yeah, someone who's turned away or is not allowed in the country or comes in and they get rid of them.
Well, somebody was
So-
saying that was why Biden's numbers were way up. But if everyone does it, then
Well,
it's,
even if
it's not just unique to Biden, so
Right.
therefore Biden's numbers are inflated.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, they all do that. But even counting those numbers that people turned away, that doesn't detract from the reason of bringing up the numbers, which I brought up the other day, which is if the Democrats' secret plan is to flood the country with illegals in order to help them voting, why would they be turning people away on the border either? That doesn't make sense.
People also responded to that
Mhm.
they count illegal immigrants in the census numbers, and that gives them more money and voting power in Congress. So
Yeah, for states representatives. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
Yeah, but
people say
okay.
they are turning those immigrants into
Okay, well, hold on. That doesn't address at all what I said, though.
No, I understand. Look,
Okay.
what you said is not going to be addressed. I'm saying that
Okay, I understand that, and we talked
you're-
about that
you're-
exact thought process before, which is if all illegal immigrants are coming to Texas or Florida, that doesn't really. It only helps the Democrats if they're going to blue states. It doesn't help them if they're going to red states.
yeah, but there's plenty in California. There's plenty in blue
Yeah, but
states.
California is
Yeah.
already gigantic as it is.
Yeah, but so
So-
California gets 2 more Congress people
Okay.
taken away from some red state where they
yeah,
don't
but
have
but remember
the population.
we talked about this months ago, and someone brought it up. I forget who it was. Someone actually had the link that it's if that happens, California ends up taking representatives away from blue states
Specifically?
because however because they have to recalculate the population every 10 years to make the
No, I get it.
determination.
Yeah, I totally
Right.
get it.
So that's what I'm saying. In order for this idea to make sense, the Democrats would have to calculate this very Machiavellian strategy where somehow they're going to make sure that the blue states get the illegal immigrants and the red states don't, in order to make sure that they're getting the votes away from the red states. Where otherwise it's just, well, they're just moving votes from different blue states to different blue states, or even blue states to red states, which wouldn't help them. So that's
First of
why I
all-
don't buy this. The whole point is that this is a too complicated math question for anyone to implement, for there to be some sort of idea to intentionally do this. It doesn't actually make any sense.
Okay.
Wait, you can't just say, well, okay, because I just explained mathematically why it'd be complicated, and no one has ever sat there and been like, well, actually, here's the magic formula that the Democrats are using to figure this out.
You're saying it has to be complicated when it's very simple. They look the other way. They're like, immigration numbers help us inflate our numbers in Congress. And they don't do the math. They just think, oh yeah, it'll all work out in the end. And we don't have to do anything but just, sit on our hands. It's easy.
Okay. You're claiming it's easy. How do they calculate the numbers for representatives in the House?
They take a census. Yeah.
Yeah. And they take a census every 10 years, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so, as I said, if you want to do the thing that they're being accused of doing, you have to ensure that the blue states like California,
I know.
okay.
Look,
Okay,
they
you don't
could
know.
do it.
You
and
don't
it
know because
could
you just
work
said it
out
was easy.
incorrectly.
You said it was easy, and it's not easy. Okay.
Your
at all.
your look. Let me explain it this way. Okay.
Wait, before you do, I want you to actually say what my argument is, so I know that you know it.
You're saying that in order for Democrats to actually get away with this, they have to calculate
To accomplish their goal, not to get away with it.
To accomplish their goal, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that terminology. To accomplish their goal, they have to determine where they specifically plant the illegal immigrants. So
Right.
what they want to do is they want to boost population in states where they're obviously going. They already have an electoral advantage, so they're
Mhm.
going to get more blue Congress people in Congress. So they want those numbers to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have to be taking them away from red districts so that those red districts are losing representation. So when a district is closed out because, look, the population went down and now we have to redraw the districts, they're going to end up with 4 Republican districts where they once had 5 Republican districts. And they're going to have 5 Democratic districts. So,
Right.
so they have
And-
to do all of this complicated math to be able to do it,
Yeah, because
to make
the
it
two
work,
parts
to
are
get to the end of the plan.
right, because the two parts are the easier part, which is just trying to dump illegals in California, right? That'd be the more easy part. The harder part would be you have to make sure that when they do the calculus,
Yeah, I understand.
wherever the votes come away, they get taken away from red states, which
Yes.
I don't know how anyone would plan to do that action.
I understand.
Okay.
Do you get it? Do I
Okay.
pass your
yes.
seal of approval?
Okay.
Do I understand,
You understand
the
the
argument that you're
concept,
making?
right.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So you're saying, let's put this in the context of like a bank robbery. Let's say the Democrats want to rob a bank,
Mhm.
and you, Sitch, are going through the entire plan of robbing the bank and getting away with it. Okay.
Okay.
You're saying, oh, you have to do all of these different steps to actually accomplish the goal of robbing the bank.
We've seen
This is
Ocean's
not-
11. Yes.
This is not generally the way people go into robbing a bank. Okay.
I've seen Ocean's
They-
11. They
they
have all the
go
little
into-
steps.
Yes. So you're contemplating an Ocean's 11 Democratic Party. I'm not contemplating that. I'm contemplating a stick-up job robbing of the bank, right? They're not thinking through to the end of it. They're kind of making it up as they go along. They're like, step 1, we get a bunch of illegal immigrants into the country. Step 2, they don't have a step 2.
Okay.
So,
okay.
so still,
right. Okay.
you're going to get that situation going on,
Gotcha,
even though
gotcha.
someone has not planned all
So-
the way to the end.
Right. So I'm to be 100% crystal clear.
Mhm.
I have never in my entire life ever conceptualized the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, or
As
the U.S.
Ocean's
government
11.
as being competent enough to do an Ocean's 11 scene
Okay,
heist.
good,
Okay, I have
good.
never ever conceptualized that. I'm the person who always says these conspiracies aren't true because people are too stupid and incompetent to pull them off. And if they try to pull them off, someone's going to talk to Project Veritas by accident or leak this information. Okay, that has been my position from day one. Right.
But your
What
argument
I'm
seems to be
saying-
that they're doing all these calculated steps and they're saying, oh, that's too complicated.
No,
you can't do that.
No. My argument is if the conspiracy theorists who are pushing this conspiracy theory were right, it would require the Democrats to do all these very complicated calculations, which I don't think they're doing and aren't smart enough to do. So the complexity is my argument against the conspiracy. All right. Do you understand?
Well, it's an argument against them actually accomplishing the goal. It's not an argument against them being motivated to actually implement the first plan of the first part of the goal.
Right. So the argument the conspiracy theorists would make would be that the Democrats have this just basic idea. Someone in the Democratic Party, okay, someone high up in the Democratic Party has this idea that, hey, we can like bring in people and, you know, they can go to California or other blue states and thus they'll increase our representation in the House. Okay. And then when someone, because I'm just a fucking retard on YouTube, okay, someone in the government says, hey, how's that actually going to work? They say, shut your mouth. We're not going to figure it out. We're just going to wing it and hope it works. Open the gates. And then that's what happens.
Well,
That's the argument.
First of all, look, I don't know. I mean, obviously these things are happening. You don't need to make an argument for the nefariousness of it. You can argue just
people
fine
are
with
coming
the
into the
incompetence
country.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. But
They are.
no, but wait.
They
The
are
entire argument is
moving
the
people to
argument about
certain districts.
motivation.
What is your response to these districts where there's like they're overwhelmed with immigrants?
What does that? Has nothing to do with what I said.
Well, it would be an argument for them actually placing people in certain districts, right? Like
Wait a
there's been cities that have been taken over by immigrants where the population is like 50% immigrant now.
So to be clear,
Mm-hmm.
I have always said, and I agree, that there is a problem with too many immigrants coming in the country. We're having a conversation about the motivation. Was it the incompetence of the government under the Biden administration or under any Democrat administration that allowed the situation to happen, or was it malevolence? That's the specific argument that we're talking about. So to address the question,
You're
that you're
changing
saying,
the topic.
I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
go
not.
ahead.
I'm just.
Go ahead.
I'm being very clear. Okay.
Okay.
So to come back to what you're saying, right? My understanding about people being placed in certain areas is that there's only there's only actually one way in which someone has been, quote, placed in an area. They've been placed in the area by Republican governors from Texas, or the Republican governor from Texas and Florida, sending people to blue states intentionally. So the Republicans are the ones sending illegals to specific places in the country. And there's a bunch of stories about this, and everyone on the right was saying based. And they were doing this intentionally in order to flood the system to make the blue states care about immigration. And it worked. Okay. So they're the ones doing
That's
that.
the only one? That's the only thing that you've heard?
When you have the situation
That's
like
not
in
the only
Ohio,
thing I've heard. Okay,
when
there
you
we
have the
go.
situation like in Ohio with immigrants coming to it, I believe what they said was that the government did not place anyone there, that the actual government of Ohio had jobs programs that they were using to attract people to come to certain areas, and that other state governments that needed workers were having jobs programs that they were using to try to attract people to come to certain locations.
So through the jobs programs, I could place people strategically.
Well, you're not placing anyone. You're saying, hey, let's make a bunch of incentives to try to get people to show in certain locations. Yeah.
Right. Yes. No.
Right.
Those. I'm not saying anyone is strategically placing people.
Right.
But people are being placed by these jobs programs, right?
Sure, I guess to some extent. Yeah.
So theoretically, in the future, you could incentivize people to be placed wherever you want them through various jobs.
Right. So now,
right?
So now we would have this extra layer of complexity, which would require not only that you have blue states have these incentive programs to get people to come to them, but as I said, the more difficult part would be how do you ensure that it's the red states that are losing out in populations, and you're not just simply shifting votes away from blue state to blue state.
Well, obviously, there's a political battle going on everywhere, right? So certain people are going to be fighting against whatever project you've got underway. But you've got some sort of idea on how to place people. There already exists a mechanism to place people.
And isn't Ohio a red state anyway?
Well, I think Ohio is a swing state.
Well, I mean, didn't they vote for Trump
Ohio
the last 3 elections?
Well, I think
they voted for
Biden.
Trump they voted for Trump the last 3 elections.
Trump won Ohio in 2020?
In 2020, yeah.
Okay. Well, he didn't win it by much. Ohio's definitely a swing state.
I'm just saying, but I'm saying the Republicans are in control of the government, so I don't know if it was a state decision or the local Springfield decision to do whatever that job placement program was for the
But look, no, I'm not saying that anyone's driving the ship. You know, there's a smoky room somewhere where the Democrats are getting together and they're getting the list of jobs programs out in the map and putting ticks on the map where they want their jobs programs. Okay. I'm not saying that.
I know you're not.
I am saying that there is a mechanism to place people if they could get in that smoke-filled room and coordinate like that. Obviously, that's not possible because of the way our political system is structured.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah.
But all the pieces are in place. Now
They're
the
not
conspiracy theories. How are they not?
No.
What left do you need?
How do you ensure that you're subtracting the population proportionally from red states only and not from blue states?
Well, you're talking about placing more immigration, right? You're just going to place that immigration strategically. The immigration is not going to grow in places where you don't want it to grow because you're not going to have the jobs program incentives.
Unless you had a situation, I mean, which I guess, okay.
We're not, we don't have to move people from a red state to a blue state. No. We're just adding people.
Here's where I could agree with you. Okay. If you had a situation where every blue state had one of these programs where they were all trying to attract immigrant workers to work there, and every red state was like, we're trying to get immigrants out of the country or out of the state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you could over time create the situation that you're talking about.
Right. Yes.
But then that would be very stupid for red states to do that, because then they're basically incentivizing Democrats to do the very strategy they've been afraid of. But they're not. That's not happening currently right now. So that's why I'm saying the idea of this conspiracy doesn't make sense.
Okay. Let's move on.
Okay. Did you want to keep watching this video or to a different story?
We'll keep watching the video.
If they bring them back, they give them due process. They go to the court. They try to get rid of this withholding of removal order. They might be able to do it, and he might be right back where the administration wanted him in the first place. But as it stands now, and Trump rarely shows a knowledge of the legal, he has like sort of a surface knowledge of what's going on legally. And he says immediately after he says that I could bring him back, that I'm going to follow the law or something to that effect. But that may be exactly what he's not doing if he concedes that he's able to bring him back. And what's been going on is this sort of cat and mouse game between presidents, where one president says, I can't send him back to the United States. What am I going to do? Smuggle him in? And then our president says, well, I don't have any control over it. But now he's just said, oh, yeah, I do have control over it. And you better believe that Kilmar Abrego Garcia's attorneys are going to get the transcript of that interview and shove it in front of the judge as fast as they can. This is a major concession by the administration.
And there's sort of these competing impulses on display here from Trump, who at times sort of acts almost as an observer to his own presidency. We saw that the first time. We see it now, too, where he kind of comments along with things, often on social media, without realizing, hey, you're the one who actually could do something about it. Like, hey, inflation's bad. OK, do something about it. And there are many other examples. With this, Danny, as you rightly say, this his hatred of the idea of weakness. So with this now out there in the public realm, this comment, let's not just talk about this particular individual. There's dozens of people taken from the United States without the due process, whose names we don't know yet because the administration hasn't even revealed them. So talk to us about just like a bigger template here for others who are trying to say, look, this was not done in an appropriate fashion.
Yeah, the Trump administration is removing people with.
Well, this is Morning Joe. Morning Joe's going to be, a little, there's not going to be as sensationalized as like, Rachel Maddow or the other things. So, but they're focusing more, at least so far. In this
Nobody's brought up the tattoo at all.
The focus is on the legality of all this stuff and not really the whole tattoo stuff, which is kind of interesting. So
yeah, they're doing actually a good job of like explaining it. So
credit for that. Yeah, definitely credit for that. There is I don't know if you want to switch to Fox News to see how they respond to the story or just move to something different.
We can do it afterwards, but I do want to see if they ever like mention the tattoo thing.
The tattoo. Okay.
Like that's what I thought they would be like zeroing in on. It's kind of amazing that they're not.
Ruthless efficiency. Let me just give you an example. The habeas petitions, or the petitions that people are filing to challenge their detention, the rules for this kind of petition are that it has to be filed in the place where you're being detained. Well, one thing they've been doing is transferring people so quickly that they don't have a chance to file that petition. And in some cases, they're already out of the country. So where is the jurisdiction once they're out of the country? And once they're out of the country, the administration takes the position that, hey, it's no longer our problem. So one of the things the Trump administration has been unbelievably good at in the last few weeks and months is finding legal ways to achieve what it wants, ways that are often parts of a subsection of a statute that is that no one has ever really used before. I mean, for example, the provision
like they're pouring over the law. He's like got a million attorneys at work on this. How do we do this? Go back anytime in all of legal history
of federal law that allows removal of people who the Secretary of State deems would have adverse foreign policy consequences. When Congress passed that legislation, they said, hey, listen, this is supposed to be used rarely. This is not supposed to be used all the time for people that you just don't want in the country. It's for a situation where some foreign visitor is causing a major foreign policy crisis, not just because you don't like the guy or you don't like what he or she is saying. So one of the things the Trump administration is doing very well with ruthless efficiency is finding legal means, or at least a legal basis, to do the things that it wants to do and at least argue that in court. But they may be coming to the end of the road in the Garcia case. And by the way, in a way, it's an unforced error because, as I said before, they could just bring him back, put him through some kind of due process. And if the administration really wants, they probably could get that withholding of removal order overturned and send him back exactly where they want to send him.
As Donald Trump conceded, the president saying,
well, they can't send him to the prison, right?
No, I think they could, actually. They could send him right back to the prison.
Okay.
Because they still haven't really, it doesn't seem like the Trump is following. The Supreme Court also did rule something. Now, I don't know enough about the legalese to give a full accounting of it, but the Supreme Court did rule something about some level of habeas corpus due process was due to people before they send them to this prison in El Salvador. And I don't doesn't seem like the Trump administration is doing that. So they can still keep doing it, I guess.
Get him back. I'll pick up that phone
Yeah.
and make a phone call. David French, you've been writing a lot about the Abrego Garcia case and the absence of due process here. One comment that the president made in that interview.
Okay, we can just move on then. Just look like they're even going to bring it back up.
It is interesting, and I was looking to see if any of the other hosts, and I don't know, at least I can't find it on a cursory look. Maybe they're all just so Maybe they're all just so used to it. Right now, they're just like, whatever, it's not a big deal.
Well, it seems like in 2016, this would have been just too much to resist, right?
Yes.
So, but if the mainstream media is not jumping in on it, like David Pakman has to be going crazy on this. The internet has to be going crazy on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of the left-wing pundits on YouTube have to be going crazy on this.
Right. It is interesting. So, okay. I don't know what that means about things. I don't know if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of articles that were about this specific thing, though it seemed like there is also a big emphasis on the fact of, what they talked about in the beginning where Trump says that he could call the guy to get him back and isn't doing that. So that's not going to be good for their case.
Right. So there are other people that have been deported straight to prison, and there's no pending litigation over those people.
Yes.
It just seems like that deporting people to prison thing is like a little crazy, but
yeah, doesn't it? Seem a little crazy? Seems a little crazy. So.
Yeah. Especially if they're not from El Salvador. So you had one guy from Venezuela.
Yes. Okay, interesting.
So it looks like this is going to play out in the courts. It looks like Trump is still following court orders. He's trying to, through the legal system, make it so he doesn't have to bring this guy back and have a trial, because the Democrats are going to claim that as like a huge victory. And if that happens, the Democrats can claim it as a victory, but they're just going to do some legal stuff here and then redeport him. And be like,
that's probably what will happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's going to be more cases about what is even the legality of Trump to deport these people straight to this prison anyway.
Right.
I don't even know what you call it, deporting, sending these people straight to this prison anyway. And then is there going to be a difference between because it would seem like legally, I would imagine they would have a lot more wiggle room to send El Salvadorians to the El Salvadorian prison as opposed to sending Venezuelans to the El Salvadorian prison. And then you'd have even more, I would assume you'd even have more, like with this guy, the government would have additional leeway because he came into the country illegally. Where with some of the other people, like the gay barber or the other family I talked about in the beginning, or earlier, I should say, if someone comes in the country and requests asylum and then you send them to prison directly, I think you would have much less legal leeway to do that than if they snuck into the country like Garcia did.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Anyway, what do you want to do? You want to do another story or?
Sure. I mean, there's this Fox News talking about the story. I don't know how interested you are. See if
they, bring it up. Definitely. Let's hear
they see what their version of the story is. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're gonna. This is a spin.
President Trump sparring with
They're
ABC
probably
News.
going to spin it exactly the way that I laid out. That the Democrats are fighting for criminals again, right?
I would imagine that's what they're gonna. Yeah. I mean, that's what they've been saying for the last month. So I assume that's what they're gonna say.
Are they going to bring up the hand tattoo? Probably not. I can leave
you
that
think
part
okay?
out of
Because
it.
here's our prediction.
Oh,
I
look,
haven't
it
seen
is.
this
It
clip
does
at
say
all.
tattoo tussle right there in the chyron. Look
so
at this.
They're gonna have to bring it up, right?
Okay, this is perfect.
Press it.
This is perfect.
News anchor Terry Moran on his best issue with voters, deportations. Things getting pretty heated over the ongoing case of alleged MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Watch it here.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
But the court has
he's
ordered
not.
you to facilitate that
I'm not the one making this decision. We have lawyers that don't want. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshop.
You want me to show you the picture?
I'm not an expert.
Oh my God, bring the picture up.
Abrego Garcia is not the only immigration story the press is focused on. There are many, but Charlemagne the God blasting the media and accusing them of misleading the public over a report that the Trump administration is deporting children with cancer. Watch.
I do think when the media has that conversation, we can't rage bait, though. Because, you know, every time they say it, they'll be like, oh, a 2-year-old got deported, a 3-year-old got deported, but they're not telling the whole story of their parent was here illegally, and so the parent got deported, and so they sent the child with them. Because when I hear it, I'm like, why the hell would they deport a 2-year-old? Why would they deport some child with cancer?
All right. Hey, Greg, just before.
So they immediately frame it as targeting the media, right? They're like, this is the media rage again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We get your comments.
Fox News isn't part of the media, though. Of course not.
No, that is interesting. Yeah, because they had that other story that came out too about the kid, the cancer kid, which Nate, the lawyer, did a video on that. At least it seemed pretty good. I don't know that much about the story. I watched it. It seemed pretty sensible. But then I read an article that sort of cast doubt on some of the things. So I don't know enough about that story to weigh in.
Right.
But I mean, on its face,
really?
obviously.
Nate is usually pretty solid with his videos. You think?
Well, basically, because what Nate was saying makes perfectly logical sense, which is that, you know, you have people that are the parents or the mother, I guess. I don't know what's going on with the father here, but the mother. But there's some mothers that are in the country illegally. They have an anchor baby, essentially. They have a baby in the country, and then the mother is going to be deported. You would think that most mothers would want their children to come with them, right? Unless they had families or relatives or someone
that they could leave
here
them
that they
with.
could
Yeah,
leave them
exactly.
with.
They don't want to leave them
know.
in foster care. Jesus.
Right. They're not going to leave them in foster care. And so that story seems like, okay, that makes sense. You shouldn't like frame it as like, well, you're deporting children, because you're not deporting children. You're deporting the parents, and the parents make a decision about whether the children comes with them. Right. And that's what Nate's video is about. And that seems to be perfectly logical, sensible to me. But then I read an article that was claiming that there were lawyers for the people that were deported that were claiming that they basically didn't have a choice, and they were like kind of strong armed into just leaving, taking their children with them, and that they didn't even have time to like get medicine for this kid that has like fucking stage 4 cancer or some crazy situation like that. So kind of adding additional information that seems pretty dark.
Oh my God.
I said I didn't really have time to look into it, so I don't know what the facts are of that.
It's so easy to bait people.
Little gem came in from a congressman from Georgia. His name is Hank Johnson. Watch.
First, they came for the Latinos outside of the Home Depots, and I didn't say anything about.
Oh my God, we're going back.
No.
We're going back to this old chestnut. Where's this end? What is this meme? Where's this meme from?
The Holocaust.
Yeah, very historical meme here.
Going for the Holocaust, baby.
Yeah. I think it comes from a poem.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
About it, because I'm not a Latino at the Home Depot.
Then they came for the senators in Congress. And I said, what the fuck?
Then they came for the Hispanic-looking folks wearing hats backward with tattoos. I didn't say anything about that because I don't wear my hair backward, and I don't have any tattoos, and I don't look like a Latino.
He knows he's fucking dying here. He's
this
like,
is
where's
so
the
bad.
laughter? I know.
Well, it also doesn't even make sense because like everyone is complaining about this. It's not like this is happening silently anyway.
Oh yeah. Supreme Court weighed in.
I know it's like a protracted cultural, public, legal battle about all these issues.
People are not looking the other way.
Yeah, no, it's just silly.
All right, Greg.
Then they came for this stupid congressman.
I was just thinking,
that
I wish
would
I
be
was
so
sitting
much
next
better
to
with
you.
bongos, Dana. We needed to put bongos under that.
Give me your thoughts.
Well, let's simplify it. The letters and the numbers are labels that translate the symbols on his knuckles. The reporter tried to say that the labels were the tattoo, an intentional deception to make you think he's a gang member. No, we know he's a gang member. Those numbers above aren't even the same typeface. Let me put it this way. Can you put us back in boxes for now, all of us in boxes? Okay, people at home, we're not really in boxes. It's just a production thing. That label was added on as a translated. What the newscaster tried to do was make it sound like, oh my God, the whole thing was doctored. No, it wasn't. But the real joke is that we are.
Now he's blaming the news guy for trying to
Okay.
guess. That's completely dishonest.
This is some premium grade gaslighting here, right?
Yeah.
This is okay. So he's trying to make the argument that it was the reporter's fault because he was implying the whole thing. I mean, we watched the clip. He said that the letters and numbers were not there, and he said, I think he said something about the symbols were there, but the letters and numbers were not there. So this isn't even true. This is not remotely true.
And he brought up the disagreement over what the symbols meant. So
Well, and he's also, his argument, which is kind of silly, is, well, obviously the MS-13 was not on the tattoo because it's a different typeface. But that's the accusation. That's why the guy is so bizarre, like so surprised that Trump didn't know that.
yeah.
Okay, this is a really bad. I mean, I guess it would work. This argument would work if the person that saw the story, they only saw this, like that super chopped up version of the interaction, right? They didn't see the actual full interaction.
Yeah. He's saying that we all knew that it was photoshopped on there.
Except for Trump.
He's implying that Trump knew it too, though.
I
That's
guess.
what he's
I
implying.
don't know.
And the
Not saying it,
reporter
though.
tried to gotcha him.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about the nature of the tattoo when we already know the nature of the thug. And because we know that he is a gang member, that he has a violent history, that there are police reports and there are court proceedings that cover this whole thing, we now have to shift this over onto, well, it's photoshopped. No. Do you honestly think the mafia walks around with Gambino crime family tattooed on their chest? How stupid are you? But the Democrats and the media have made him into their latest martyr. They never do the victims. They only do the victimizer, whether it's a criminal, a human trafficker.
Boy, I fucking called it.
Of course. Of
I
course.
totally nailed it.
I mean, it doesn't matter. This guy isn't been accused of victimizing, some American citizen or something.
Right.
So, except I guess for his wife.
Yeah, his wife.
The accusation, yeah. But then she retracted those, so I don't know.
Yeah, of course she is. Because she knows she's going to be back in El Salvador with this guy.
I think she's
Where
American,
is the wife?
think.
Oh, she's American. Okay.
Yes.
Trying to play women's sports, doesn't matter. They always pick the wrong guy. In this case, this guy.
And Judge, he is from Georgia, and so is Laken Riley.
Yeah, well, I didn't hear him worried about her, which I think is probably the basis of your question. But if you will just
That must be the congressman that's from Georgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
indulge me, I have to do this. I am sick and tired of the issue of whether or not Abrego Garcia is an MS-13 gangbanger, okay? I had a gang unit as a prosecutor. It was one of the first in New York State. I had gang interpreters, gang investigators, and you identify a gang member by the colors or the tats, okay? And the gang interpreters have made it very clear that the marijuana on his finger is for M. And the S on his finger, or is not S, it's smiley face, is for the S. And the plus sign is equal to 1, and the skeleton is equal to 3. That's what a gang interpreter would tell you. The weed, the smile, the plus, and the skeleton.
I mean, is there actual... Because I remember when this came out, I was looking for that. I couldn't find it. I wish he would produce if there was some sort of like actual... Yeah, first of all, I didn't know this existed. We have the gang interpreters. We have the anthropologist of gangs. Okay, they're looking over like gang signs, and they have little magnifying glasses to make all these determinations. If they're like,
making
listen,
fun of it, but they do.
I know, I understand it's real, but the way she's describing it is funny.
Whenever
to me.
they do graffiti, they have a gang unit come out and they film the graffiti and they
Oh,
keep track
okay.
of it all. They have all
Interesting.
this. Yeah, they definitely follow the
So
symbology.
I want,
of the
so I
gangs.
want to see
Yeah.
the anthropologist of gangs come out here. If they said, yes, we have like here's the extensive, book of gang tattoos for MS-13. And here we have like these symbols mean that. If I saw that, I'd be like, okay, that's definitely strong evidence, right?
Yeah, I would love to see it. I'm sure it exists. That's why you looked for it, but you didn't find anything.
I didn't find anyone bring out the book, right? I didn't see anyone make, show like, okay, here's the thing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I'll just search gang unit symbology.
I want the gang unit symbology, astrology like crew to come out here and explain it.
Well, they obviously they're not gonna Google completing for me. Gang unit symbols, Los Angeles. Gangs in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Well, no, because remember there was the whole thing with the barber, the gay barber, and that other people where they got leaked what ICE was using as like their tattoo sheet, and it was like some tattoo sheet that had a bunch of random tattoos on it, and people like reverse image search the tattoos, and 7 of the 8 tattoos were not from gang members; they were just from like random people on the internet.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. If there is, I would love to see it. I said it would be very compelling evidence. If there's some guy who's like, I'm a gang expert, and he has like the tattoo list and he shows it up, and he's like, here's all the people that we arrested from MS-13, and you can see this, like they have the, these 4 tattoos or something, then that would be very compelling evidence.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know law enforcement obviously does keep track of that stuff.
You hope,
but
yes.
So you don't think they do keep track of any of this stuff?
I had a lot more faith in things in the government processes until recently, and we find out that it seems like there's a lot of just fucky-wucky, fly by the seat of our pants bullshit going on.
Every single municipality in Los Angeles has a gang unit,
right?
Where they basically keep track of where the gangs are. In like some cities, they have a dedicated gang unit that's like devoted to keeping gang activity outside of their city limits, where they go and fucking basically make their lives miserable until they leave. So I do know that if you call in graffiti, they don't want you to take care of graffiti yourself. They say call the gang units because they want to photograph it, keep track of it, keep the dates, because this is one of the ways that they keep track of the gang units. So
well,
what she's saying is not a lie.
No, I understand. So what the implication of that would be, if there is these gang units that have, the records of MS-13 tattoos, and they're not showing anyone this information, that would imply that whoever does that doesn't actually have evidence that those tattoos are MS-13 tattoos, because otherwise they would show it.
I found a report, but it's Canadian. Tattoos and Their Meanings, presented by Canadian Border Services Agency, Organized Crime Section, National Headquarters, May 20, 2008. So it's quite out of date. But they have a bunch of different tattoos and what their meaning are.
Do they have those tattoos, the ones we're talking about?
Those particular ones?
That's
a cross can indicate bondage, subordination, or slavery. Some tattoos are given involuntarily as warnings or punishments for transgressions. That's just on the cross one. The swastika one, I think I know what that one means.
I think we know what that one means, yeah.
But I'm certain. Look, and I'm certain the prisons have all kinds of. They definitely keep track of the tattoos.
Right. So why is that not being produced?
No, look.
Again, yes, that's the question.
Why it's not being produced and jumping to it's impossible for them to produce it. I mean, maybe it's just incompetence. Maybe they can't get someone who's a gang expert because he's undercover. I guess they could do the thing where they put the thing over his face and morph his voice, right? If he's the gang guy.
He's got like a scrapbook of tattoos. He holds it up.
Yeah. Oh, there's an MS-13 right here. But look, this guy, oh man. It's so funny because this one, guess what? It is basically just, it says MS-13 giant on his
literally
chest.
Says MS-13.
It's not remotely hidden at all. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
They got a couple MS-13s here that are just, I mean, it's just in your face MS-13. So,
Stephen Dudley, co-founder and co-director of Insight Crime and author of the book MS-13, The Making of America's Most Notorious Gang, said that the use of tattoos as displays of affinity and loyalty to the gang have dropped in recent decades after law enforcement officials seized on them to identify members. You think? Younger members.
What year did that come out? Because that might be why it's in symbols instead of.
This is an
actually...
article from this year.
Okay. Well,
younger.
Yeah, this could be old. So
right. Younger members of the gang are far less likely to tattoo themselves, at least in an obvious manner. Right. So this is why they would have like
look right there
symbols or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's not an obvious manner.
Let's see. Do they say in this article specifically those ones?
Yeah, that's the thing. Here, I'll let you look.
Means your MS-13. End of the story. Okay? Now, number 2, the guy comes here not as an illegal through the regular ports. He comes in as a gotaway. He didn't want anyone to know he was coming in. He gets here, he beats his wife, not once, but twice. 2 orders of protection. Beats the hell out of her. Now we find out that there is a court document where the father of those 2 children, the mother of whom he was living with, goes to court and he wants to get his kids back because his wife is living with a gangbanger. Okay, and the time.
Ooh, that's not good. Her estranged husband wants his kids back because.
That was the accusation he made. Yeah. He made it like years ago during. I don't know, whatever. There's been a follow-up then.
Yeah. Hard to say. The guy could easily be lying.
Okay, so here...
Conclusive proof
some
by
sort
any
of
means.
domestic dispute.
Yeah.
So, okay. So apparently his lawyer has been in contact... Garcia's lawyer, should be specific. Garcia's lawyer has been in contact with the specific tattoo artist that put those tattoos on his knuckles. Okay. Now we don't... That information isn't public.
Well, and so the lawyer... It's not conclusive by any means.
Right. But so the lawyers saying that they didn't think it was gang tattoos. Obviously he denies that they're gang tattoos. His wife denies
they
that they're gang
contacted
tattoos.
the MS-13's professional tattoo artist, and he said, "Of course they're MS-13."
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
That guy would be dead the next day if he said that.
It says the tattoos did not factor in the gang affiliation allegation originally made by the Prince George County Gang Unit detective, who was summoned to the Home Depot parking lot to question Garcia and the 3 other men after they were detained by the police. Garcia said that he was at the parking lot frequented by day laborers in search of work and did not know the other men there. The police detective who made the allegation cited his clothing, including the Chicago Bulls cap, and information from an uninformed confidential informant. In this gang allegation, the tattoos were not mentioned. He did not check a box in the gang interview field sheet that was specifically reserved for tattoos as proof of gang ties.
Well, that's not good.
So that would be against So you have the local police who are looking for the gang didn't register his tattoos, which he had at the time, as gang tattoos.
That they could just be not members of the gang unit, so they don't know that the tattoos are have specific meanings. I mean, it's not really conclusive proof either way. Like
well,
if
it's not
it was
conclusive, but it's a knock against it.
Well, no, because you have plenty of cops that I'm sure have no idea what the symbology is because they're not in the gang unit. They're not keeping tabs on it. They're like,
well, yeah, I guess the original sheet you would maybe you wouldn't put on the original sheet, but you would assume if you thought he was in a gang, you would kick it up to the gang unit, wouldn't you, for them to write some report about it?
Maybe if I mean, some cities don't even have gang units, so like it may not have got that kind of attention until it went to. Yeah. Well, did it
I don't
ever
know what
become
Maryland's
federal?
situation is enough to know.
Yes.
If they have a gang.
Los
unit
Angeles obviously has gangs and has gang units, and like all the cities because of it. So
right.
But I don't know if it's in Maryland, right? I don't know the gang situation. Obviously, they got one gang member, but they got him off the streets, luckily. So
right. The Washington Post asked multiple tattoo gang researchers, law enforcement officials and gang researchers. It said some of them believe that the tattoos could be MS-13. One strongly thought it was MS-13. Others said that they did not think it was MS-13. it was kind of a mixed bag here.
Yeah, there's no conclusive proof on this.
thing
The
on
only
the
story
tattoos,
is that Trump can't read Photoshop in a meme.
Yes.
Like that's
There
the
you go.
only thing valuable about this story.
Right.
Which it is interesting. I guess the left is like, we've gone down this road in 2016 and it really didn't help us. So we're not going to focus on it. Let's focus on the substance of the story. And Fox News is obviously not focusing on it either. Aside from gaslighting that Trump was right.
The guy who wrote that MS-13 book said that he had never seen those specific tattoos to mean MS-13.
All right.
So
let's give him the October 7th test.
Okay.
That guy.
Time is very consistent with the time that she was living with Abrego Garcia. Now, we had 2 hearings. 2 judges said he's a gangbanger. And the only reason that there was a hold put on the deportation order, twice the deportation order was issued, is because he was fearful of a rival gang in El Salvador that would kill him. Okay, so I got to tell you, I don't know how much evidence you need, but this guy is an MS-13 gangbanger. And let me just finalize it with this. Obama deported 3 million people, 83% of which never got a hearing. No one ever complained about a hearing. No one said they needed due process. No one even said they needed to call a lawyer.
But did Obama throw them in an El Salvadorian prison?
True.
That's kind of a big difference, I think.
This is bizarre. And if you buy into it, you're crazy.
You're crazy.
Yeah, but see, this is the problem. Is like, I understand, again, she's bringing this argument saying that they have these people that research all this stuff. That's fine. But then just produce that information. And
well, she did say,
okay.
The 2 judges said that he was.
They didn't, though. They said it in the context of denying bail, which is not the same standard of evidence to send someone to prison.
So in a bail hearing, they said he was a gangbanger. So
they said that there was enough. They said that there was enough evidence. They said that the informant, simply having a confidential informant say that you're part of a gang, was enough evidence to merit that evidentiary wise to deny someone bail. Yes, that does not mean that you send someone to prison forever.
Right.
On that information.
Yeah, obviously not prison
and just
forever, but.
Right. And to be clear, that guy, Stephen Dudley, he's the co-director of this organization called Insight Crime. And their entire thing is trying to fight against gang members and organized crime. So I don't think he's some soft on crime lefty.
Okay, good. Nice.
Jessica, earlier today, Hakeem Jeffries, the House leader of the Democrats, said he doesn't want people going down to El Salvador anymore. I mean, he didn't say not for vacation, but not to go and do this kind of stunt anymore. They must have numbers that show it's not working.
Well, we know that people's feelings about the economy are what decide.
So that was a Democrat that went down and did a press conference with him. And so they're saying don't do that anymore. Looks bad.
Elections, and he wants to be talking about cuts to Medicaid and cuts to Social Security, and that's a real debate that's going on within the party. But it is also clear that Van Hollen going down to El Salvador did move public opinion on this issue. By 2-to-1 margin, people think that Abrego Garcia should be returned to the United States. And the reason that people are talking about that exchange...
Well, that's interesting because that was sort of the question you asked. You know, how does the average person look at the situation?
Yeah, I didn't watch the interview. I just heard people talking about it. Where they put like the wine glasses.
Well, there's no video of the interview. I don't think. Was there? I just saw the articles right about it.
They had a picture.
Yeah, they had pictures.
Because they said they came out and put drinks on the table, so it looked like they were having cocktails together.
Right.
Yeah, and he said that was nefarious. Basically, they weren't having cocktails together. They just did it to make it seem like it was no big deal.
Right.
Change last night with Trump and Terry Moran about the tattoos is that we were all assured that no one was dumb enough to think that it was actually said MS-13, but it seemed like Trump actually did think that. And there have been a number of experts on gang tattoos, like CBS, I'm looking at an article right now, that they spoke to, who said that these experts did not say that the symbols the judge talked about, the marijuana leaf and the cross,
Then they're
and the
wrong.
smiley, then they're okay.
They're wrong.
Our gang expert is better
I
than
prosecuted these cases.
So I haven't watched the 5 in a long time. So if you've never seen the 5, they always have 4 conservatives, and then they have the one liberal person. So I guess she's the new liberal person here. So
it's a gang fight.
So there you go.
It's a 4v1.
Hey, she's laying it out though.
We should have known. The glasses kind of give it away, don't they?
Well, no,
That's like
well
the
maybe
look for the liberal.
they usually. I mean, in the past, they'd always have some kind of like ugly fat guy do it or something. So.
They're very aware of the optics.
They are, yes.
Fine. Either way, public opinion has shifted on this issue. In terms of the kids, the problem with those cases are that those mothers did not get to talk to their lawyers. One of them who had the 2-year-old, this is not the 4-year-old who had cancer, who supported with the 2-year-old, had 2 minutes on the phone to talk to her husband to try to figure out what would happen to her American child. And so, yes, like any mother, they said, I will take my kid with me rather than leave them in a system where I don't know what's going to happen to them. I think we can all agree that you should be able to talk to your lawyer before you are deported, especially with your American citizen child. The New York Times has a really interesting deep dive piece out today on the El Salvadorian president, Bukele, and the prison. And what it exposes is that actually he was uncomfortable with the arrangement once he figured out that Donald Trump was sending people to his prison who had not been convicted of any crime. We know as well that there's reporting that up to 75% of the people that have been sent there have not been convicted of a crime. So think about this. The guy who refers to himself as the world's coolest dictator is uncomfortable with what we are doing to people. This isn't about deportations. This is about sending people to a...
Because she couldn't help herself. She had to go to the dictator comparison.
No. She said the guy...
Yeah, but she's making
Salvadorian
this...
president is saying that he's the world's coolest dictator, right? Not
yeah,
that Donald Trump is.
I don't know that he's calling himself the world's coolest dictator. I think that might have been her hyperbole. But she's saying this to say, look, this guy who is an obvious dictator is more empathetic than our president. And the reason to say that is to say our president is a dictator. That's the reason to make the analogy. So, but look, I'm not comfortable with this situation either. So,
yes, I mean that's it. I'm curious to try to find that story because that would be interesting if Bukele is all like he's uncomfortable with this whole arrangement. He's like, can we not do this?
Right.
And Trump is like, do it. He's like, okay.
I mean, he constructed the prison to deal with a gang situation. So, I mean, it's been great for his country, but putting a bunch of innocent people in that prison probably is not a good idea, especially if they're just like deported Venezuelans, right?
Foreign prison camp without getting a hearing and without being convicted of anything. And that's why Americans' public opinion on the immigration policy has shifted.
The conviction is not the requirement.
Let me correct something that I said.
What the fuck? A conviction is not the requirement to incarcerate someone abroad?
Wait, say that again?
It should be. The judge on the panel said a conviction is not the requirement. But we're talking about the requirement to deport someone and incarcerate them in a foreign prison.
Well, that's the problem. If it was just deportation, you have a
fine.
much better argument here because it's like, okay, well, you're just getting deported. They're in here illegally. But you're sending them to prison. So
yeah, that's
not
a
great.
big step.
Yes.
Because Hakeem Jeffries apparently denies that he doesn't want people going to El Salvador. So maybe, Jesse, he thinks it's a good idea. I don't know. But his office denies this report that he said don't go down to El Salvador anymore. Just for the record, Jesse,
no one else is going. No one else is going because it's stupid. And I'm sorry, Jessica, I love you, but I don't believe anything you say anymore. You're wrong about everything. Every time you come up with these things, first he's a Maryland dad, then actually he does have tattoos that spell MS-13. Yeah, and then there's this other tattoo expert that you have. I thought we were supposed to trust the experts, right? And all these experts say this guy's a gangbanger, and you don't trust the experts. Let me ask you this. When a guy hangs out with MS-13 and gets picked up in a gang sweep, how is it that the MS-13 ranking gang members are allowing a non-gang member to hang out with them? Don't you think that's a little bit of a security risk, Jessica? That's like when the feds raid a Gambino gambling den. And do you think it would be believable?
I mean, I think the difference between they raid a hideout and there's he's there, and it's why would you be there? Versus he's standing out, saying he's a day laborer standing outside of a Home Depot. And there's 3 other people. I don't know how close are they standing right next to each other? Are they standing nearby? I mean, I don't know. This doesn't really explain the situation.
The analogy completely doesn't fit with this particular situation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are not gang members. It's probably escaping gangs.
Well, I mean, as I live in a state where you go outside Home Depots and I see people waiting for jobs outside Home Depots. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
If some Italian guy
Sitch
was
only
I'm not in the
the
mob.
ones with the MS-13.
I specifically ask, I say, all right, I need someone to help me with some labor today. Let me see your tattoos. All right.
I'm I need some security.
There
Which
you
one
go.
of you guys is MS-13?
I'm assuming, listen, if MS-13 is sending their gangbangers outside of Home Depot, those are the reject ones, right? They're sending all the good ones out on missions to extort people, blackmail people, kill people, right? And then you have Johnny over here who sucks at being a gang member. He's what do I do today, boss? You go outside the Home Depot. Maybe you help someone build this shed or something.
That's right.
Yeah, they're just letting random guys play cards in a gambling den with a bunch of mafioso. Use your brain, Jessica. And
oh my God.
Oh my God.
I can't. This is they invite one liberal on, 4
Just to
of
beat
them.
up on.
I know. Look at the zeal on these 2 faces here. They love it. They totally love it. Call her stupid. Kick her in the head.
I don't even believe you this 2-year-old nonsense. Oh, you just listen to what the lawyers for these migrants tell you. And then the day later, it's all wrong. You know what the protocol is? When you pick up an illegal, when you pick
Don't finger me. Come on.
Don't
wow.
finger me.
Okay, let's come on.
This just became
Yes.
PG-13 here.
Hold on a second. Let's use our language a little bit more.
Yeah. Stop fingering me. You dirty birdie.
Pick up an illegal. You don't know this. I'll tell you this for the first time. When you pick up an illegal and they happen to have their kid with them, they get a choice. Do you want to be deported with your child, or you can assign a family member or a guardian here in the United States to leave the child there? That's the choice. And if you don't like the law, then go to Congress, change the law. Because otherwise, you just get women here, coming here, breaking through the border, having babies, and they all get to stay because you feel bad. I'm sorry. You can feel bad about a lot of things, but I'd rather follow the law.
Yeah. All right. Up next, a code talker for white guys.
I don't even get her.
I don't even let
give
her
a chance to respond.
I know. It's such obvious bullshit. But and also people that get so indignant when it's I'm going to follow the law. When it's okay, you're literally not. You're doing the opposite of it. But whatever.
Right. So how long is this story going to be around for? I guess the whole Trump presidency, right? He's going to keep doing it, and they're going to keep bringing people out.
They're going to keep finding people as long as this continues. In this process, they're going to find new people every week to bring out.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right, you want to move on to super chats, or you want
to? Sure.
Well, I mean, if you have another story you want to talk about, I don't have a hard out today or anything. So,
I'll just say, I guess, just briefly. Fortunately, the Trump administration finally, maybe, came to a deal with Ukraine about the minerals.
Oh yeah, what's going on? Are we finally going to get our raw earth minerals?
We're finally going to get our raw earth minerals. Yes. So
I can't wait. Oh.
Yes. And so that's a good thing. I'm very glad. I think, I've been saying for a while, I think Ukraine should basically just agree to whatever, because, you have this, now we'll finally get to see, what's going to actually happen. Because Trump has been making this argument that if U.S. has some sort of vested interest in Ukraine and Ukraine's resources, that's going to somehow deter Russia from attacking. I don't believe that to be true whatsoever, but maybe we'll finally get to see what happens when that is in effect and Russia doesn't give a shit and keeps attacking Ukraine. What is Trump administration going to do in response to that?
What do you think they're going to do? I mean, everyone's saying they want to move on to China. They want basically Europe to take the helm in the Russian-Ukraine conflict.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I am questioning, Trump threatened earlier. He was like, he was going to throw on some kind of additional sanctions, give additional military aid to Ukraine. Listen, maybe he was just waiting for this deal to be in effect and then he'll go full guns a-blazing in Russia. I really hope so. So that would be nice, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, he can't really. I mean, he can't really go full guns blazing, right?
Yeah, but then doesn't he just sort of undermine his? It's kind of like with Obama. He's like, he has the red line, and then it gets crossed, right? And then that kind of Putin doesn't give a shit about Obama.
Holy shit! Well, has he said enough to make it that this is the red line? Like there has to be
no, he hasn't.
Peace agreement. I don't know.
Right, he hasn't said it as definitively as Obama said. But if he's coming out here making this claim that having this vested interest in Ukraine will deter Russia and Russia doesn't give a shit, I mean, does he just shrug and say, well, I tried, right? I mean, I guess a lot of his base would accept that because they don't really like the involvement in the war anyway. But
you blame Biden.
I guess.
He said this is all Biden's fault. None of this would have ever happened if it wasn't for Joe Biden.
Yeah, but the problem is you're right. That is like definitely
that's what he's going to do.
That's what he's been doing. That's what he'll continue to do. But the whole thing is like, so because part of the argument that Trump levies is that the disastrous withdrawal of Afghanistan is what led to Russia invading Ukraine, right? He said this like a lot. And so is he going to set himself up to do the same situation where in a couple of years, China invades Taiwan? It's like, well, the U.S.'s disastrous pull out of Ukraine is what motivated or made China think they could invade Taiwan, because U.S. is going to be like, oh, we're very involved for a couple of years, and then we just get bored and give up. Yeah. Like he's setting himself up for the exact same scenario if he were to do that. So that's why I'm saying I don't know if he would do that. I'm hoping he won't do that. I'm hoping that he'll stick by Ukraine. So.
Well, I think we're going to stick by Ukraine in spirit. I just don't know that we can. I don't know about the weapons situation.
Well, so the part of the deal is that, so originally the Trump was kind of conceptualizing the mineral deal so that the military aid we give to Ukraine would be considered debt and they'd have to pay that back. The new deal, but the new deal says only future military payment would be considered debt and would have to be matched by Ukraine, mineral and resources and things of that nature.
Okay, so the slate is clean now.
So yeah, the slate is clean until I guess the deal is set. Then all of a sudden they're starting the hook. So that
makes it seem like we are planning on giving them more weapons.
Right. And then Trump can turn around and say, well, we're not just giving it to them, they're buying them from us, through these resources or whatever. So that's why I'm saying I'm trying to be optimistic about the mineral deal and what that would mean for the future.
I don't know the supply situation. All the stuff I'm listening to is talking like we're reaching the bottleneck of supply
of ammunition and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Which is like, yikes. Right. So if that's the reality of the situation, then we are only supporting Ukraine in spirit.
Right. But the whole thing is Russia is also reaching the bottleneck of supply as well. And if China is trying to gear up to do their own invasion, they're not going to they need to have their own supply. They're not going to be able to just give
fund
Russia infinite ammunition either.
Right.
So
I hope so. I hope everything's coming to a close.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was the last quarter, there was a down. The definition of a recession is 2 negative quarters in a row of, or 2 quarters in a row of negative growth. And I think we had a negative growth print on the last quarter by 0.3%.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know if
GDP
you wanna
went
say
down
something about it.
3%.
Yeah.
And it was the first contraction since 2022. So everyone is pointing the finger. Obviously, it's not a great sign. But then it's kind of unusual or kind of interesting because then today, the day after that's announced, the economy actually went up 2 or 3 points. And so
Yeah.
people were pointing the finger and saying that the reason the economy went up, well, they said there's a couple of reasons. One is that Trump the day before had sort of made it sound like that the U.S. would maybe is heading in a direction that there could be a deal reached with China. And then today, I believe, I don't know if it was before markets opened today, but today there was some Chinese state media account that claimed, I don't know if it's true or not, but claimed that America actually approached Beijing with a willingness to negotiate. So that would make people feel a little bit more better. And then also you had Microsoft and Meta came out with their earnings report and it was very good. And so that kind of people felt that was good for the market. Though Amazon and Apple's earnings report will come out, I believe, after markets close today. So that might have an impact on what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah, look, all the earnings have been coming out and beating expectations. So
yeah.
And there was a dip when that news hit in the morning yesterday, but then the market ended up closing actually up for the day. And it's up considerably today as well.
Right.
So they're saying this quarter is going to be over 2% GDP. Is that what you said?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
Then they said that last quarter went down 0.3%.
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but then the market went up today 2 or 3 points.
Yeah. Okay. You were talking about the market, not GDP.
Yeah. They had it. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense.
I don't remember. There was some, I don't know if I wrote it down. They had anticipated before the tariff conversation, they thought the GDP was going to go up this quarter. So, oh no, they're saying they're expecting it to go up 4% and it went down it went down 3%. Or I'm sorry, they're expecting it to go up they're expecting it to go up, GDP to go up 0.4% this quarter and it went down 0.3%.
We're basically flat. That's why it's not,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a giant thing. Look, a lot of people think there's going to be a recession. A lot of people think there's not going to be a recession. So,
well, it's all going to really depend on because a lot of the at least what people are talking about with shipping containers and the tariffs, all this stuff, is that it's a delayed effect when there's things not on shelves. And so the whole thing's going to be, are we going to enter in the next 2-month period? Suddenly there's this massive supply shortage or not. That's really going to dictate how the economy goes.
Oh my God. I just looked at my DMs and Zero Fucks is like dragging us back into the immigration conversation.
Yeah, I saw he sent me.
Did he send you that too?
He did, because I remembered, I remember someone, and I thought maybe it was Zero Fucks. And yeah, Zero Fucks is the one who created the chart that showed where the votes would be taken. And according to Zero Fucks, if he said that actually Texas and New York would gain a representative, so it'd be one blue state, one red state, and that the states that would lose would be Montana and Minnesota. So again, you'd have one blue state and one red state lose a vote. So it'd be
it's a wash. Okay.
Complete wash, yeah.
Fascinating.
But thank you, Zero Fucks.
All right. So
look,
I think we should just have happy thoughts about the economy. I think the economy will be fine.
I hope so. I fucking hope so. Okay.
As long as I don't know. It seems like Trump is pretty prepared to fold on anything that's not going to be good for the economy. So
it was interesting because I mean and I don't agree with this. The Hill cast Trump's mineral deal with Ukraine as him folding on Ukraine. So they're definitely viewing it through that lens as well.
Folding?
Yeah.
Even the Hill said that?
Well, I mean,
Sauger said that?
It was Crystal and
Crystal obviously said that. But
I forget the other woman was the host that day, but she's more libertarian.
Sauger's got to be losing his mind on. Oh my God, we're giving more money to Ukraine. Ah!
I guess that makes sense.
Going out of his, he's not. He's pissed.
I know.
I guess he would frame it as folding too. He'd be like, it'd be a bad thing.
Right, exactly. I sent you a funny. We can watch this funny video
Okay.
at the end here. It's a Twitter video.
Is it?
Next
Oh,
video.
okay.
So there was this kind of silly story that was kind of ridiculous where Starbucks changed their dress code, and they basically just said, it's so ridiculous. Okay. Like they made their dress code so not even remotely strict, and people are like freaking out about this, or people that work at Starbucks are freaking out about this.
Oh my God.
This is the changed dress code. Okay. They said, starting on May 12th, we're evolving our dress code in all stores to focus on simplified color options that allow our iconic green apron to shine and create a sense of familiarity for our customers, no matter which store they visit across North America. The more defined color palette includes any solid black short and long-sleeved crew neck, collared or button-up shirts, and any shade of khaki, black, or blue denim bottoms. We're also making a new line of company branded t-shirts available to partners who will receive 2 at no cost, including partner network options. So the dress code is you have to wear a black shirt. Okay. It could be short or long sleeve. And then you have to wear either khaki, black, or blue jeans, essentially denim jeans. Okay. That's it. That's the dress code.
That's just typical. That's totally typical. Yeah.
How could you complain about that? That's the most nothing burger ever, right? Like, oh my God. Like these people that have jobs, you have to like dress up as a suit and tie every day. And they're like, oh no, you have to wear like a fucking black shirt. Oh, that's so terrible.
They should make them wear ties. That'd be awesome.
There
I might
you
go
go.
to Starbucks more often.
It's not even yet. It says a crew neck. A crew neck t-shirt. That's a normal t-shirt. If you don't know what a crew neck is, that is a normal t-shirt. Or you could wear collared or button up if you want. Okay. So
you just have to wear what's their problem with black t-shirts?
I don't fucking know.
I
don't know, Adam.
I live for my black t-shirts.
Yes. They're complaining about this. It's insane.
All right. Let's hear the complaints.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, go.
One thing that Starbucks loves to do is allow partners to be themselves or whatever that PR that they want to push. I don't understand how that's in good faith of letting us express ourselves. I don't understand how that's supposed to embody craft and culture and bring us back to that coffee house kind of vibe that Starbucks is asking for, because for some reason you all can't understand how to schedule more people in a zone. You can't understand that people are taking LOA, and that you can't understand that it's not appropriate to tell someone that they are okay, that they should be doing the work of 4 people. That's disrespectful. I'm sorry, how often do I see you actually on the floor and actually helping instead of going against things that help us? And when your partners are saying, I need you, I need help, sorry, we're busy, I'm doing admin, sorry.
This is not a legal action that Starbucks is taking by unilaterally deciding what the dress code is going to be and then creating this so-called feedback session where the dress code's already created and we're just expected to let off some steam and still accept it. Lying down. This isn't a feedback.
I just in good faith that any of these partners feel manipulated by all of you all who are also continuing to push this agenda on us. And that's all I really have to say.
Was that a trans man?
I'm guessing that was a trans man, yes. Yeah.
Notice that the trans man was fully within the dress code requirements.
Well, no, I don't know if they were. I think if they were an all black t-shirt, I don't know if it can have like a.
Oh, you can't have a graphic on it?
I didn't. The thing I saw didn't.
Oh, now fuck them. I'm totally against them. Fuck that.
I am assuming it's supposed to be an all black shirt. Oh no, yeah, it says solid black. Right, so that means no graphic.
No graphic.
Yeah. Right.
That's because
I can't wear my custom tee that's got Blunty Fly on it or my Sitch and Adam tee at Starbucks. This is a travesty.
This sounds like people are going into work with like fuck Trump like clothing on, and they're like, oh God, we got to deal with this again.
Right.
So instead of saying, oh, you can't wear political symbols or whatever, they're just saying, oh, you've got to wear an all black outfit.
Right.
Yeah. They're kind of trying to dodge the bullet.
You could be right. That would make sense. It's just, oh my God, it's just so pathetic. Like,
they got it.
Like
They just-
they're
they have
talking
to.
about some other issues. Like, listen, if you have some issues with like staffing, whatever, that's all fair and good. Why are you gonna like make yourself seem like a total retard by complaining about the dress code when it's like it's first of all, a company is well within their right to have, you know, whatever dress code they want, right? They're not making you wear like a mankini or something. Okay. You can't wear a fucking black t-shirt and blue jeans. Like, get out of here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's no problem at all, right?
And also, I mean, listen, it doesn't optically help your argument when you're all wearing these. I don't know why they're wearing like birthday, like they're wearing like the little birthday cone hats for children on their head.
Yeah, what was that all about? This
I
guy's
don't
got a
know.
Birthday
Who the fuck knows?
hat on. So,
And oh, and I had to read this statement. This is so cringe. This is from they have some woke Starbucks union or something. This is like what's destroyed unions. Okay. It's instead of unions just being focused on like, we want to make sure that our employees have, you know, get paid fairly and have fair hours and benefits and all this other stuff. They become these like insane, seems like recently, they become these insane, like leftivist, political activist nonsense organizations. They've been completely subsumed by trash, and it completely undermines the whole point of the union in the first place and unions as a whole. So they said the new dress code at Starbucks hurts partners. Starbucks workers are radically diverse, disabled, queer, and trans. We need a dress code that allows us to show up as our full selves at work.
you're at work, bitch. I
What does that even mean?
I don't know. I guess I have old norms about the workplace.
I know, right?
Yeah, I just
dress
trying to be an
professionally.
individual at work. Every
Yeah.
place I've ever worked, it's like
The opposite of that.
even places where it's a casual work environment, everyone ends up dressing the same anyway. I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Unless you're working at the tattoo shop or something or Hot Topic, you know, usually they're like, "Hey, here's a
Wow.
uniform," or put on a a dress shirt. They also said that the new dress code restricts gender expression of queer and trans workers, potentially forcing trans workers into dysphoria-inducing clothing.
Oh my God.
A black shirt is, oh my God, what is that? Jesus Christ.
Dysphoria inducing.
Well, and I've been to a bunch of Starbucks all over Florida. Okay. I've been to a bunch of Starbucks all over the country. I like every time I walk in, they're almost always wearing that anyway, a black shirt and a green apron. It's not like I don't remember walking in to a Starbucks and seeing someone with like their tits out or something. Right. So I don't even know what are they complaining about. I think I would have remembered if you know, if someone was asking for the mommy milkers breast milk meme in real life.
Yeah. I mean, if they wanted to wear some sort of colorful thing, I would not care. I think it is, especially after reading that statement, I think it is, they're trying to make political statements. They want to wear fuck Trump shirts and like fuck Trump hats, and they basically want to just shit on anyone who voted for Trump. So,
well, I mean, I think like if you're like some owner or some CEO, some bigwig at Starbucks, I understand if you want to walk into Starbucks and people have some sort of like uniform or color palette or something. That's almost how every restaurant, every chain operates in that same vein. I don't see why that's a problem.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I'd have to dig in more, but my gut intuition is it's to avoid political messaging, and they don't want to come out and say you can't have political messaging on your clothing because they will spin that as a Trump endorsement. They're like,
of course,
Starbucks endorses President Trump.
Right.
And deporting people to El Salvador, deporting innocent children to El Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to spin it as, oh my God, Starbucks doesn't care about the children being deported. All I did was wear this shirt that said, hang Trump. Right?
Probably.
All I wanted to wear was this shirt that said, I love Hamas. And nobody would let me do it.
Those bastards.
God, there's so much shit that has to look, you know. The people who work at Starbucks now, all they talk about is fucking Palestine and the deportations. That's probably the whole topic of conversation between all of these people. That's how they bond.
They can still talk about it. They just can't wear the clothing.
That's their
right?
pleasure. But they want to share it with the customers.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, so when you go to Starbucks and you order your drink, and they ask for your name, you be like, Israel forever. And then you hold up the Wakanda forever fist, see what they do.
I'm going to
they'll
go
probably
down to
pee in your drink,
Starbucks.
so I don't know if you want to do that.
I'm going to go down to Starbucks with my Israeli flag.
No, yeah, you wear it draped around your back.
Where is this Starbucks?
Get me a caramel macchiato, tall with soy milk.
Extra
Plenty of
soy
drizzle.
milk. Extra soy, right?
Extra soy. I want an extra shot of soy.
Where is
And then
this?
You twirl around with your Israeli flag. What do you mean, where's
Starbucks
the
rotisserie fights back against new dress code. Understaffing.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what Starbucks is so I can avoid it.
Oh, the Starbucks that this took place. Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere in like Portland or something, right? It's the vibe you get. What's the vibe you get from all this stuff?
Oh my God. Lethal Strain sent me some picture, but I can't tell if it's like a trans person. Oh shit. Stop it. All right. Should we move on to super chats or you
Yeah.
want? You were good.
You read the
You've
first
got
couple. I gotta go to
all-
the bathroom real quick. I'm like dying
Okay.
here.
I can read. I'll do it. Let me pull the super chats up here. I guess I'll just start at the beginning here. Oh man. We have Mr. Middleman, member for 7 months, says, it's really unfortunate that the left is making this guy's story the focus of their criticism. They had a point, but they're losing the plot PR battle. Well, I'm not sure they are losing the PR battle if Trump's numbers are suffering from it. So, and maybe that meme of him getting the tattoo wrong, Trump getting the tattoo wrong, is not going to spread like wildfire because the left is worried about rejuvenating their image. On the left-wing news press is worried about rejuvenating their image. And it just has it looks so insane that I think a lot of people might think, oh, the news is back to their old tricks again.
I'm back.
And they're making up crazy shit about Trump, even though it is actually true. So they're like, we need to step back away from this for a second.
Whatever Adam said, I disagree with. I didn't
Guess
hear any of
who, for $10, says any shot will have a review of the H3 versus Sam Cedar versus Hassan. Well, we were talking about doing that on Sunday. So there is,
Yes.
there's 100% a shot that you will get that.
We're gonna.
Is it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I contemplated putting a poll up because I don't know. Are we overkilling the H3 drama? Because I think we've covered it a couple times already.
I mean, it depends. I only watched a little bit of the conversation, and unfortunately, the part I watched in the conversation, Ethan is totally like fucking up, dropping the ball, mishandling the conversation completely, and it's kind of boring. So, but I'll watch the whole thing, and if it's interesting, I mean, 100%, cover it. I would like to see Sam Cedar spurg out, and this is what Ethan needs to do for the conversation. I don't know if he's going to do it. I'm skeptical. What he needs to do is just be like, here's the points of agreement that we have, Sam, I assume, about Israel. And then maybe he'll say, okay, here's some things we disagree with. And then basically just drag Sam through the gambit of saying, do you support, people that are in favor of October 7th? Right. And, do you support all these, do you support the Houthis? Do you support all these like horrible things? Just so you can really get like a sense of, put Sam's feet to the fire to make him either support the extreme crazy shit Hassan is supporting or make him denounce it. That's what he needs to do. And I don't think he's going to do it. So
no, I don't either. I don't think that's going to happen, but
yeah,
it would be great.
Yeah.
I'm in favor of that.
Mr. Middleman for $2 says the MS-13 font matches the title of the photo. That's fun. I didn't even notice that.
Maybe the guy who put the title together did it.
That's funny. That's funny. That would make sense.
I thought it was hilarious. Like my instant reaction was, "This is so fucking funny," but I didn't. I mean, I didn't feel any anger or wasn't angry about it.
About what?
About Trump's like completely mischaracterizing the photo. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
not
why.
It's to me. It's just. I was more like
I
just
was
baffled.
amused. Yeah.
I was more baffled at just how horribly incompetent like this whole situation has been going. So.
Right.
David Kane for 32 months says, I lost my union election. I blame Adam for not shilling harder for me. I'm officially S-class now. We'll get him in 28. They were striking Tuesday in LA.
Really?
Adam, why didn't you come out harder for David Kane? Okay. David K.
Were you fighting for the union? I mean, I'm in favor of unions, so.
Yeah, I guess it looked like he was running for union president.
Oh, okay. You weren't.
Well, thank you for being a member for 32
You weren't
months.
trying to form a union. You were trying to be union president. That's a cushy job. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. You'll get him in 28. All right. We'll do, make sure minus 28. We got to do our chat free will woo to grant you that power.
No, we do. We all pray together, Sitch.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not woo.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're praying. We're praying
Those
to the
people-
Lords
yeah.
of free
Exactly.
will, okay, to grant David K this chance in 2028.
All the people who pray together. That's how you get. That's how you get the ear of God.
That is true. That's true. Mike Hiller for 7 Canadian says the Spanish word for skull starts with C, the third alphabet letter. Oh, the third alphabet lettered. Oh, like an English alphabet. Still a Trump gaffe. Is that the argument? Okay, I thought it was about I heard it was the holes in the skull, not that it's. That still seems pretty tenuous, though. That's like some blueprints level code deciphering. So when the other, like if they all had that, I'd say like, okay, maybe like if each one was like the same kind of cipher, right? You have an argument, but
You got to mix it up. You don't want these gang guys to get on your tail.
But then how do you identify you're part of the gang?
Because all the gang knows. They spread it around by word.
Oh, you mean when you say gang guys on your tail, you meant the police?
Yeah, the gang.
I understand. I misunderstood what you said. Gotcha.
Or
The Rooster
maybe
for
even
five.
other gangs. That could be dangerous as well.
There you go. That's true. The Rooster for $5 says Sitch just calls Stephen Miller shady, weasel face, and not trustable. Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks, Sitch. Listen,
Is Miller? Oh my goodness.
I was hoping someone would pick up on that, and I could always count on you, Wooster, to pick up on my subtle anti-Semitism. Okay, or not so subtle anti-Semitism.
I didn't know
so
he was
thank you.
Jewish. So
I did know he was Jewish. Yes.
look at that.
Death by Sloth for 37 months. Thanks so much for being 37 months. The Free Will Seeker says off topic, but I was checking a Hassan Reddit thread about his upcoming debate with Ethan. It's a fascinating insight into the mirror universe.
That we
Ooh.
have to cover. I mean, that's
Yes.
going to be, that's what we have to cover right there.
Yes.
When is that? Is that going to happen on Saturday? So we have some good for Sunday?
I don't know. I hope.
That would be so good because then we could get it while it was hot.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll pray that it's a Saturday debate. Okay.
Right.
Oh wait. I think it's tomorrow. It's Friday.
Oh, that works. Okay, so that's what we're covering on Sunday.
That's what we're covering. Fuck Sam Cedar. Maybe we'll cover it during the week or something.
Well, we can
Hassan,
bring up a little Sam Cedar as well, right?
Yeah, maybe if there's some clips. Hassan will be debating his ex co-host. This is from the Hassan Piker Reddit. His ex co-host this Friday. Dun, dun, dun.
Based. That's what we need. That's some good content right there.
Okay. Now I did
We'll
see a
watch
clip.
it
It was
together.
very funny of Hassan. He was like spurging out, worried that that Ethan was just gonna like sneak Destiny into the conversation or something.
Was he really?
And he was saying it not because he was worried about debating. Well, the way he framed it, he's like, "Well, I'm not worried about debating Destiny, but like Destiny's banned from Twitch, so I don't want to get banned from Twitch because Destiny
God.
shows up." I was like, as if fucking the CEO of Twitch, who's sucking Hassan's dick, is gonna ban him for that. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's nonsense.
Excuses.
Get out. Get out.
I think Destiny's an unfair debater, though. So
No, well, that is true.
Yeah,
Dan
of course. Yeah, they're both unfair, but
Dan Schneider for $5 says, have you seen Doug Walker's new video, Religion of Fandom? Would you guys consider doing a reaction to it? I'd like to know what you think. I have not seen it, no.
Doug Walker is he's the media guy, right?
Yes. Channel
What was his
Awesome.
channel? Channel Awesome. That's it. Yeah.
Yes. I'll check it out. I mean, we've only reacted to one Doug Walker thing so far in the channel.
It was the wall video, right?
Yeah, and we were reacting to, I don't remember who it was. Some socialist was complaining about his wall video. So. Well, I'll check it out. Brick Cormier for $10 says, question is, will the Dems use the knuckle interview to invoke the 25th Amendment? It is a clear sign of mental decline. Unlike Joe Sharp has attacked Biden, it would be amazing. Well, I mean, they can't invoke the 25th Amendment because they don't have the ability to do so. But if they could, they would 100%. I mean, if the Democrats win in 2026, I mean, you better believe they're going to be slamming impeachment every second. So
yeah, they already have a couple Democrats that have got a bunch of impeachment orders together.
That is true.
Yeah, they're rock and roll, ready to go.
It doesn't, the 25th Amendment doesn't require, let me see, I think it requires like the cabinet or the vice president to do it or something.
I did not see it as a cognitive decline thing, though. I just saw it as a not paying attention thing.
Right. That's how I assumed it was as well. But yeah, it says it allows the vice president together with the majority of principal officers of the executive departments to do it. Yes, obviously. Unless that'd be funny. What if Vance coups Trump? He's like, you're taking advantage of me for the last time, Donald. 25th Amendment. You didn't know it was photoshopped. Boomer. Case closed.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to vote for Vance in the future.
Yep.
I had high hopes for Vance, but Vance is he's done a few things that have really put me off on him. That Zelensky interview was the first domino. But then he decided to follow Mencius Moldbug on Twitter.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I was like,
well, I mean, they were friendly. They were friendly back in the day. So it makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Autocrat.
Sammy G, look at that. Sammy G for $5.
Look at this.
Look at this.
How cute Sammy G is. Sammy G is super chatting.
Well, you understand. Me and Sammy argue all the time about politics. Okay. Nonstop arguing, tearing the relationship apart.
That can't be good for your relationship, really? I don't know.
No, it's fun.
Oh.
It's the only thing we do argue about. Everything else is just love, baby.
Okay.
Sammy G for $5 says, if we just deported him back in 2011 or literally any other year, we wouldn't be having this stupid story and he wouldn't be in prison. There you go.
Yeah. Why not just deport regular deportation?
Yeah, that's true. Even if they just regularly deported him this year. But yes, if he was just deported. Well, that's what's kind of interesting about that other story that's kind of going to start making the rounds about they're saying that the U.S. government kidnapped the child. He was held when the family came, the husband and the wife and the daughter were split up under the Biden administration, not even under the Trump administration. So it just took them a long time to deport him for some reason, even though they already had the deportation order in July.
Yeah.
Occultology for 21 months. Thanks so much. Says the strategy is simple. Make a small mistake. When they're busy pointing out your small mistake, everybody sees the bigger picture.
I don't know what that's in relationship to.
The strategy is simple. Make a small mistake. When they're busy pointing out your small mistake, everybody sees the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming it's in relation to why is the Trump administration not just like recall him and then have their hearing and then deport him again or something? I'm assuming that's what that's in relation to. I'm not exactly clear on what you mean by that. Lucy Lumbug for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you. Yes. Welcome new members.
Mike Hiller for 7 Canadian says Trump accidentally got the media to admit those are his tattoos. Was anyone denying that they were his tattoos? I didn't see that. I mean, there's a
they
picture
were
of
saying
them
the
on his-
tattoos were photoshopped.
I'd never heard anyone make that accusation, but there you go. There's the 10D chess move from Trump. Ostracy for $5 says, I'm a bit behind. Is there more to this? If not, you guys are coping hard. I mean, I don't even know what that's even in relation to. More to what? Boba Peck for 20.
How are we coping hard, Ostracy?
I don't even know what that means.
What is coping about what? I mean, I knew that it was Photoshop. Come on, I'm not coping.
Right. There you go. Bopek for $20. Thank you so much. For $30. Thank you so much. Says, hey guys, my roommate's girlfriend was recently arrested by ICE. Holy shit. For 15-day expired visa. No known reason to be pulled over, accepted the option to be returned to native country, but she's now in prison in a different state. I don't know more details. If I recall correctly, you guys mentioned wanting to know more about insane stories regarding these sorts of cases. Her mom was deported, but she's still incarcerated for some reason. That's crazy. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awful.
Yeah, there are. I mean, this is the thing. We keep hearing those lots of stories of people not from South or Central America. I don't know where this person's from, but like, and they're overstaying a visa. And then like, there's some crazy, weird process that happens to them, as opposed to them just being deported normally or something. So.
Why wouldn't the media seize upon this instead of going to bat for a guy who may or may not be in MS-13?
So the reason that this story blew up originally is just because it was the only story where the government admitted that they made a mistake.
Okay.
That they shouldn't have sent the person away.
So there was some admission of guilt.
Right. And so that's why the original, because if you remember before that, the story was like the hairdresser and the soccer guy, right? Who seemed, at least there was far less indication that maybe they were nefarious. And then it switched to this one because this was the government had admitted fault. So.
Well, that sucks, Bubba Pack. I hope your roommate's girlfriend
at least goes to her home country. Jesus, yeah.
Yeah.
Ashi says, oh, sorry about the whole Trump doesn't think it's photoshopped. Okay. Vanessa, thanks so much for the 20 gifted memberships. Look at that. Thank you, Vanessa, for 20 gifted subs.
Is Ostracy making the argument that Trump knew it was photoshopped?
I have no clue what Ostracy
is making
the argument.
Ostracy. Come on and make that argument. I want to.
For shame. For shame.
How do you make that argument? Oh, it just seems so obvious.
I saw people on X making that argument, but
people who didn't see the clip.
People see what they want to see. All right. Harrison Dill for $2. Thanks so much. Says abolish ICE. AOC 2028.
Yeah. She's going to be running in 2020.
I know.
Interesting.
It's going to be terrible.
Is it?
It's going to be terrible.
I don't know. She probably get a bunch of young people are actually going to show up when AOC runs. I
know. And that's going to be terrible because she's a fucking radical socialist retard.
Right.
So I really don't want her to take the nomination. Ostracy says yes, easy. So Ostracy does believe that Donald Trump knew that the numbers weren't actually there.
Send him the link. So that's good content right there.
If you listen, you send him the link. If you want to engage in a 20-minute argument with Ostracy about this story, you can. Okay.
I'm going to let you argue with him. I'm not.
Okay. Look at this.
I'm just going to sit back and.
Yes.
I mean, I'll bring the clip up. We can watch it again together.
Right.
I'll send him the link. Sure.
Okay. Send him the link. Anonymous Cow for $5 says, how should due process look like without having to back up courts and ultimately neutralize deportation? You're just going to have to get a shit ton more judges. There's no other way to do it. This whole argument that like, well, there's too many people, so due process goes out the window, to me is just ridiculous. You can't just say, well, we've made a determination that there's too much crime, so we just get to throw people in jail forever, right? That doesn't make any sense to me. Or we get to just take people's children away because there's just too much crime. We can't actually adjudicate any of these issues. J-Mac, thanks so much, Circuit Father, for the $20. Says, did you guys see or talk about Sam Cedar versus Ethan Klein stuff? So many buckets to fill. No, we haven't seen it. We haven't fully seen it or talked about it yet. So we'll see. That'll be Sunday.
Okay, I sent Ostracy the link. I don't know if he wants to come on. He's in chat. He can tell you guys if he wants to come on or not.
Ostracy for another $10 says, Sitch, why do you always go to an extreme conspiracy about Democrats importing voters? Basic argument, they highly encourage illegal immigration and campaign heavily to make them all citizens. Why do you ask me why do I go to an extreme conspiracy when when someone said that's what they were doing and I was responding to the legitimacy of the thing of their accusation?
I was not saying that's what they were doing.
You read a comment where someone made.
I am not saying that at all.
You read a comment where
Mhm.
someone said that would be part of why they were importing people. Okay. And that's what I was reacting to. So if you're criticizing me for Adam reading a comment that I was reacting to, I think you need to check your own biases, obviously. All right.
The only thing
Check
I
yourself.
mentioned about the comment was that population size affects numbers of representatives in Congress, and it affects that regardless of whether or not those people are American citizens or not. That's all I said. So it does affect. It can affect the voter turnout. So, but anyway, we can move on.
That's not what you said, but okay.
That is what. That's literally what I said.
Okay. You can go back and listen to what you said. Discontinued.
mean,
yeah, you
that's
just
what
ran
the
the
what do you
comment.
mean?
The comment was okay.
You-
First of all,
look,
you
there's-
brought up
hold
a
on.
comment. Wait, hold on a fucking second. Okay. You brought up a comment that had nothing to even do with the point that I was even making at all. All right. And you brought up this comment in relation to the immigration shit. All right. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay, well,
When you try to say like, oh, I just randomly brought up a random comment about how, well, immigration size, for no reason, disconnected from
we
the
are
immigration
literally having a
conversation.
conversation about immigration. This whole this whole live stream was about immigration. That's why the guy got deported.
So now you did bring it up in the comment of immigration and the Democrats bringing people into the country in order to inflate numbers.
Yes.
Okay, then why did you just say that you didn't bring it up in that context 5 seconds ago?
Look, you constantly respond to the Democrats bringing immigrants into the country so that they can vote Democrat. And you say that they can't vote Democrat. So that's a stupid argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person in the comment section said, well, they don't actually have to vote and it can still affect the representation in Congress. That's all I said.
I know. That's what I know. And you weren't listening. Ostracy said, how dare I react to that idea? That I'm reacting to an extreme version of the idea. I'm reacting to what the person said. That's the idea that they said. That's a conspiracy that they said.
Well, this is where.
Whatever. You weren't listening. You weren't listening to the super chat.
in.
It's fine. You weren't listening to the super chat. We can move on.
The Ostracy super chat?
You were not. Yes, he's attacking me for reacting to the comment that you told me. Okay.
Well, look,
saying that I
people
did something wrong.
You characterizing my position as a conspiracy theory is like not good because I'm not on board with the conspiracy theory, obviously.
First of all, I didn't characterize your position. I said the conspiracy theory in general, the concept of it, which you are aware people are pushing, including Elon fucking Musk. Okay. So it's not like this is some like fringe idea that no one's ever talked about. That's another thing too. Like like Ashi's attacking me for reacting to some Ashi right here attacking me for reacting to something extreme when Elon Musk is out here blasting it on fucking Twitter. Like I'm like, why are you reacting to like the weird fringe version of the story?
Well, I'm just here. Let me say my piece. Okay. I am only pointing out parts of the equation that are factually correct. That we just, as truth seekers, we have to acknowledge that these are facts. So I'm not.
That's not what you did in that conversation, but that's
what's triggering is because that is what I did in that conversation.
If you want to just talk about the facts, you'd say there are people that are coming into the country. There's a lot of people coming in the country, and that will have and ultimately have some effect on representation in the House of Representatives. Those are the facts. Okay.
Yes.
The entire, what's something that I've never disagreed with. The entire conversation is about the motivation.
And you can effectively place people in certain places with incentives. That is actually a fact too.
Mm-hmm.
Acknowledge it. It is a fact.
I said that in the conversation.
Okay. That's the
only entire conversation from the beginning was about motivation. I keep saying this and you keep pivoting away from it. All right. If you agree that we don't know the motivation, it could be incompetence, that's fine. Never bring it up again. We have to keep recycling this conversation. We've had 10, 20 times, enough that Zero Fucks had to go out and literally create a mathematical chart to figure out where the votes would go.
Well, where did Zero Fucks come down on this? Oh, you
He said it was a wash. It was a total tie. A red state loses and wins a vote, and a blue state loses and wins a vote.
Right. Anyway, Ostracy, how's your mic situation?
Is it good?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, good.
It's not, I wouldn't call it good, but it's okay. It's adequate.
Oh my God. Jeez, Adam. Adequate. Rude.
Yeah. So what's up? What do you want to argue
So
about?
go defend Trump new.
Okay,
or do you want to address your shitty asshole comment right here?
I'll address it. I'm sorry.
Well, at least his
I did
comment
not
came
mean to
with $10. So like I just
I just had to put up with Adam's shitty comments for free. I don't get paid for them.
Right. All right. What I'll say is, I'm sorry if I made it seem like I was responding explicitly to like this one time. Like I didn't mean to say like this time you're bringing it up. My problem, maybe to better articulate it, is you constantly acknowledge these Democrats are importing voters like comments when they're very extreme, but you never seem to address or agree with the very basic one. Like you don't go, oh, the Democrats are obviously importing voters and trying to make them citizens to increase their like electoral chances, but not doing this other like crazy shit. You always just say they're not doing crazy shit and kind of leave it ambiguous about the other one.
I'm sorry. What the lesser claim is that they're importing voters to make them citizens? Is that what you just said?
The lesser claim, meaning it's much more provable. They have they have a lot of people. They have let a lot of people come into the country. They actively encourage people to come into the country, and they have passed legislation that you read and at the time it seemed like did not know about that actively tried to make them all citizens.
Okay. Well, actually, no. There was legislation, I believe, that was in certain states. They're trying to let them vote for local elections. Actually, it wasn't even states. It was like specific counties, wasn't it?
No.
No.
After the Brett Baier interview, I through Adam got you to read about the 2020 immigration bill. And the first part of that 2020, or one of the major parts of that 2020 immigration bill, is a pathway to citizenship to everyone in the country who is here illegally. And you read it, and you didn't seem to know that happened.
Oh no, right. That was I do know. Remember what you're talking about. Yes, there was the original pathway to citizenship. I mean, it was literally called pathway to citizenship. There's the original immigration bill that had a pathway to citizenship, and then obviously that got scrapped. And then years later, once Biden finally acknowledged that there's an immigration problem, they had the new one that was closing down the border bill. Right. That's what you're talking about.
Yes, the original 2020. But
yes, the original.
This is a common campaign promise and has been for years. Now, to me, that's a massive incentive to get people to come here. It's essentially saying coming to this country illegally puts you at the front of the line for citizenship.
I agree with that. Yes.
Okay. So
yes,
then is there motivation for doing that to harvest votes?
I think. Well, there's twofold. I think first of all, Democrats do it because they're huggy buggy. That's their whole position. It's like, oh, we're so anti-racist, right? And that's what their voters want them to do. And yeah, they do probably think if we give all these people citizenship that they would vote for Democrats. Of course, that would be the thought process.
So is that their motivation, as you were kind of saying, for being, maybe not only, but one of their motivations for being so lax on the border in general?
I think that's
all that kind of stuff.
I don't think so, because as I said, if that was the case, then they would have. Why is Biden turning people away? Why did he turn so many people away?
Well, he turned them away in 2024.
Yeah. No, he can turn them away from his entire presidency. He didn't turn away 5 or 4 million people in 1 year. It was throughout the 4 years of his presidency. He turned away some. 4 million people, 4.4 million people, more people than Trump. Okay.
How many people did he let in?
He didn't let anyone in. People either A, snuck in, or they had asylum processes that were being adjudicated.
If you encourage people to come here by that clip that Actual Justice Warrior plays in every video, saying there should be surges at the border, if you want to claim asylum, you should come here. You are incentivizing people to come here. So to then argue, well, they didn't let them in, they just said, come here, please. That seems
okay. First of all, my interpretation of the that the clip on your time because just always plays it all the time. Okay, my interpretation of that clip of him saying "surge the border" is Biden being a rambling old man who's saying things that are not even sensible. Okay, I don't know if he meant to say "surge the border" or what he meant to even say in the first place. Okay,
Right,
that's
but we
number
don't
one.
have to guess because then he did it.
No, we don't, because you're changing the argument. You keep saying he let them in the country. He let them in the country, and I'm saying if that's the fucking case, then why did he turn or deport 4.4 fucking million people that could have all been potential voters? What is the criteria? Why would this guy that I was reading the story about, did he literally separate them and his child in different holding facilities? And then why are these people, they weren't let into the country. They didn't just say, oh, it's free reign, anyone come in. There's an asylum process that was being taken advantage of, that people would come and request asylum and fuck over the thing. Okay. So this is not the same as just letting people in the country, and you and other people will keep refusing to acknowledge that and just fucking bullshitting about the situation.
Okay, first of all, Biden is not the government.
Biden solely, as president, had the authority to keep in place the COVID lockdown restrictions to turn people away from the border. That was Biden's sole power to do that, and he did it for 3 years until the COVID lockdown ended. If the Biden administration wanted people to surge the borders and come in the fucking country, why didn't he lift that restriction day one?
Because he has other concerns. Democrats were constantly saying how dangerous COVID is and how it's going to kill everybody. And now you're going, oh, why didn't you let a bunch of people in illegally? Well, because they're not.
The Democrats, who are so fucking malevolent that they want to have all these fucking illegals come in the country and vote for them, are like, well, we can't have them vote for us if they have COVID. Oh no.
No, they can't go to their own constituency and say, we have been lying to you about the dangers of COVID, and then let a bunch of people potentially in with COVID.
Have to say that. That's what happened with fucking BLM. They literally fucking weeks before BLM shit, they're like, how dare you come out and protest COVID? And then BLM comes out and they're like, well, this is more important than COVID. You really think they couldn't fucking sell that with immigration?
No.
Okay,
they
I think
lost
you're out of
the
here,
election because of immigration. It's not
because people didn't like it. Yes.
Game. They are still responsible to the constituency. They can't just do whatever they want.
Okay, so
There's some limitations on this.
So the idea is that in 2020, the Democrats are like, we need to import people, but not too many people because we know it'll piss people off. So we're going to come up with some magical algorithm that lets in just enough people, but not too much to piss them off. That's the argument now.
No, it's not a magical algorithm. They're literally saying we are going to let as many people, we are going to encourage people to come here, which they did, and then
turn them away immediately.
No, and then let many millions of them in under these asylum laws that have this isn't something that happens all the time. When you look at the numbers under Biden, they're insane. That did not just happen. That wasn't just something.
Why did people not come requesting asylum in the Bush administration?
Well, I don't know.
Did the laws change?
One of the biggest ones was this whole immigration thing really started popping in about 2016. That's when we started seeing thing after thing after thing become sanctuary cities and sanctuary states, which are all over the place. Basically, almost every Democratic sanctuary city.
There were, to my understanding, and you can look this up. Okay, my understanding, there hasn't been any recent change in this asylum process or laws.
I agree.
And so, so they could have, this always could have happened, but for some reason, no one thought about it. No one realized they could do this. They used to try to sneak in the country, and somewhere along the way, I think it was actually starting in 2014. I could be wrong, 2014 or 2016, someone figures out, hey, we can do this asylum bullshit where we come to the border and do these bullshit requests for asylum and, make the system completely come to a grinding halt. Okay. And so that's the way it was. That's why the numbers started increasing. And you can look at over a year, you can see increasing. Then there's a big drop when COVID first hits, and then it skyrockets when Biden comes president again.
No, just not even close. And even if what you're saying is true, then I think it would be the responsibility of the president to not say shit like, come here and claim asylum.
I agree. He shouldn't have fucking said that. He's an adult, old brain farting man. He should have fucking said that. Yes.
No. It's not just Biden. This is, I don't think I've ever heard Democrats saying anything other than we need to have more asylum people here. It is our moral responsibility. Biden said it in an interview. It was just one time.
Okay.
There has been a constant push by Democrats to say it is our moral and ethical responsibility to let any asylum in here.
They never. That's a bullshit.
Yes, he did. He said it about Trump's. I think I sent you the tweet. He said, "Remain in Mexico is an immoral policy."
Yes, remain in Mexico. Yes,
because it doesn't let asylum seekers stay in our country. That's the only thing Remain in Mexico did. Is it said you can't stay in here in the U.S. when you claim asylum, and he said that is an immoral policy, and that immigrants are
because
like
they were
the
saying
lifeblood of America.
Do you know why he said that? Do you know why he said that? What was there? Do you know what the argument was that they were even referring to when he said that?
First off, he didn't make an argument, so it's your argument, not his. He
the
said
articles at the time that that was everyone was talking about when he tweeted that were all about how the conditions were so bad and the crime was so bad and blah blah blah. Okay, in Mexico,
no, that's not the
in
argument
these border
he made.
towns. Right, he didn't make an argument. That's what he must have been referring to.
No, he made the argument that immigration is a cornerstone of America.
Okay.
So he made the argument that we need to be letting these people
in. And then he just turned away 4 million people just because.
Why do you keep saying this like he didn't let all these unprecedented numbers of people in?
He fucking didn't. This is a bold-faced fucking lie. Okay? Show me where Biden was like, listen, he went to ICE and he said, ICE, I want you to just open the borders and just let everyone fucking in. And that's it. We're not even counting one. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to let them all in. And then that's it. And that's going to be my fucking legacy. Show me where the fuck that happened.
Didn't say that. He just heavily incentivized
that's what
people
just
to come
keep fucking
here.
saying. You keep saying they just let all these people in. They let all these fucking people in.
Yes, okay. They're not literally letting people in. They're saying, come here, claim asylum, and we will let you in under those conditions.
Did that happen? Wait a minute. What are the asylum acceptance rates versus denial rates under the Biden administration? Are they like, because listen, take back all of this. If you can be like, oh, look at this, the asylum, all these people request an asylum, and it's like overwhelmingly, 80% all accepted. I'd say, okay, I'm totally fucking wrong. Okay. If that's the case. If that's not the case, then this is a bullshit argument.
Sitch, you're acting like this is, well, first off, most of this stuff should kind of be seen as irrelevant considering the fact that the second Trump got in, the border crossings immediately just went to the freaking ground.
The border crossings went down before that when Biden used the executive order for the immigration bill that didn't get passed through fucking Congress because Republicans didn't want to do it.
It didn't go down like it went down here. And yes, that is when he was after it became a political loser for them, which it wasn't for 3 years. Once again, he is not immune to the constituency. He's not immune to that. He does have to respect this stuff. So you saying, oh, well, he did this stuff when it was literally going to lose him an election, but he didn't do it for 3 years is not a convincing argument. And you're acting like these border crossings were like close. It's not close. Like between even the high point of Trump, which was 1 million people crossing, it is over 2 to 2.5 times that every single year.
Okay.
And Trump only hit 1 million for like right when the kids in cages narrative started happening. And that was like it. Before that, in the last 20 years, it never crossed above like 500,000. So you're talking about like if you took a 20-year average, Biden for basically 4 years straight, it was 5 times.
It does. Like okay.
A little more.
Listen. This is going to be the last thing I say about this, and then I'm never talking about this again. And that's it. Because you and people on the right will never accept this. It's the exact same thing like when we had the entire conversation about the Twitter leaks. And it's like, I'm like, show me the fucking evidence. And people keep saying there's no actual evidence. It's just a bunch of like smoke that makes me think.
You reject the evidence. When I say he literally here, you're like, oh, well, this is an old
you're
man
full
talking.
of shit. You're full of shit. It's the same
Did
thing.
you not say that?
You're so 100% full of shit. It's the same thing with Twitter leaks. They go, oh, there's a whole bunch of smoke. Okay. And you're the same thing as people on the left, the Trump Russia shit. And I keep saying so many of the things because as I fucking said 1 million fucking times, you keep levying this idea. He said, come to the border. They're letting all these people in. It's all part of this thing to give them amnesty and all these things. And then I say, well, if that's the case, then why did they keep the COVID restrictions in place that Donald Trump put in place? Why would the person do that? And then you say, well, it's because they know they can't let too many people in somehow. And it's like, well, if that was the case, then why did they let too many people in later, right before the fucking re-election. That's kind of retarded. You'd think you'd want to do the space it out at the first, or you do it in the beginning. You wouldn't do it literally right before the election.
What are you talking about?
Or maybe it makes more sense that actually he was against this, but then they're fucking incompetent. So when the COVID restriction goes away, their incompetent plan to deal with immigration didn't fucking work. And there's a big fucking problem. And suddenly people don't want to vote for him. And that's why they scramble and they say, oh, well, we need to pass this bill. Let's me shut down the border. And then they don't pass the bill. And he tries to do it anyway through executive order, which, by the way, still hasn't even been adjudicated by the court to know if it's even fucking legal.
And who cares? Because he didn't need to do it anyway, apparently.
What do you mean? Of course he did. What are you talking about? He had to do it.
Border crossing, we didn't need a bill that did a lot of other things.
No, I said the executive, the argument that Biden's administration was making about why they needed a bill instead of executive order was that he was saying he doesn't have the legal authority to do it. Okay. And
you don't need either.
When he did it with executive order, they were sued, but it hasn't been adjudicated yet to see if the president even has that power. All right.
The point I'm making is you don't need either of them. Wait,
what are you talking about? You literally do. The problem you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, because the reason that this is even happening is because we have an asylum system that was built into our law, that was baked into treaties we have in various countries that allow people to take advantage of it. And so you need either the Congress to change the fucking law, change the fucking treaties, or you need the president, which is doing what I believe Donald Trump is doing, to declare some kind of emergency that grants him emergency powers to use executive authority to change it. So these laws are still on the books currently that allow for the fucked up asylum situation to continue on.
The asylum laws are not why it's happening. Not the only reason it's happening.
That's the only. Then what's
it
the
happened
reason?
Because you incentivize people to come here. If you say, hey, if you come here and claim asylum, we are going to stick you in a cage until we adjudicate your asylum claim and then kick you out, or make you remain in Mexico, which was already in place until Biden killed it. That actually works.
How many people did Biden stick in cages? How many people were held?
A lot, but not a lot, depending on how you look at it, right?
I want to know, how many people did the Biden administration hold in custody? Like the family I just read, the guy was in custody the entire time he was in America. He's never let go. How many people were being held in these facilities, or held in, people were complaining about the schools or those or whatever, being held in the government authority? How many people were being held in government custody this whole time that Biden was, while these were being adjudicated while Biden was president?
You're doing everything but addressing the actual things that
fuck you. You just made a fucking argument that said, oh, he's incentivizing people to come here, and if he stuck them in cages, then they wouldn't come here. And I said, well, how many people did he stick in cages? And you said, I don't know. And then you accused me of fucking changing the subject. Fuck you.
Because, Sitch, he's not saying, if you come here, we will.
Adam, I'm done. No, I'm done. I'm so done. Adam, kick Oshie. We're done. Yeah, I told you not to bring him on. This is so bullshit. I'm not having this fucking conversation. Okay, I'm done with this conversation. Kick Oshie off. We're ending the stream.
Oshie, thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we should just end the stream. I think, just take a second to chill if you want to.
You can read the rest of Super Chats. I'm done.
Okay. I will read the rest of the Super Chats here. And I feel awful. Ostracey, can you just leave so I don't have to struggle to find the kick button and the fan funding button? I'm not sure where we were at in Super Chats here. Oh, give me a second here. I wasn't quite paying attention. Oh, wait, we were at Ostracies, obviously. That's what caused this blow up. Let's see here. Discontinued Facts is a member for 20 months. Natalie Harp is the chick that posts for Trump. Oh, Natalie Harp. Okay, there we have it. We need to get some pictures of Natalie Harp so we can see how those are panning out. I don't know. Maybe Ostracy can't hear me here. Remove. There we go. Don't report to Zoom. Gone. There we go. Thank you, Ostracy. Thank you, Sitch. Let's see here. Let me try to get the chats back up on screen so you guys can read them along with me. That's always fun. Go back down here. Lucifer the Doberman, member for 36 months, says due process for David Puff. He didn't deserve to have his wrench taken. He is a baby angel Aladdin and didn't do nothing. Well, look, I got to admit, I was a little triggered to see that David Puff was calling me a conspiracy theorist in the chat. And I was going out of my way in that conversation to like not go into any of the conspiracy stuff. Just focus on the whatever is, not a conspiracy. So to have people, so much of it is like, obviously calling someone a conspiracy theorist is an attack on their credibility. That's why people do it. So I didn't like it. We can discuss giving David Puff his wrench back, but I want to make sure that we don't have any other mods that believe I'm a conspiracy theorist that we need to take care of before we do. So sometimes some heads have to roll. Quackers is a member for 16 months, says, way behind this stream. So sorry if you all have mentioned this already, but are you going to cover the Ethan Klein, Sam Cedar stuff? Then Hassan Sunday. Well, look, I guess a lot of people want us to cover the Sam Cedar stuff. I wonder if I could send Vanessa the link and Vanessa could bang out these super chats. I'm already getting tired of reading. And I think Vanessa's a good reader. Actually, Chitachi, who I haven't seen around, I think she's a good reader. So
I'm back.
Look, I'm just hitting my stride here with these super chats. I think I'm getting better.
Really? I just put my headphones in and I heard you saying you were getting tired.
I almost sent Vanessa the link. Just to bust them out for you.
Okay.
Look, I want to say right here, like, I feel horrible. Like, that wasn't my intention at all. I thought we were going to talk about the other thing, the Trump, I thought Ostracey was going to defend Trump believing that the meme thing, whatever, I don't know. So I just, I feel bad. I didn't expect that. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I mean, I guess I can make it. I apologize. There you go, Sitch.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
I want you to know.
Oh my God. Adam must be serious here. It was a public apology. Can you believe
I'm breaking my normal.
Can you believe this?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Well, look,
oh my God.
Look, you're a good friend. It's unexpected. That was completely unexpected. I didn't realize that you'd get so angry about it. But anyway, look, I was angry earlier over everyone calling me a conspiracy theorist. And I was just like, I mean, I'm going out of my way not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but whatever. I'll continue. Lethal Strain for $5 says, Garcia's withholding order is he couldn't be deported to Guatemala, not El Salvador. Oh, interesting. He came to the U.S. from Guatemala, but is a citizen of El Salvador. Well, I knew he was a citizen of El Salvador. So
it's weird. I saw that because the gang he was talking about that he was, trying to get away from is in El Salvador. It's not in Guatemala. And so, and it's weird because there hasn't been that much reporting on it. I've seen a couple articles report on it, and people seem to be speculating it was some kind of weird judicial clerical error, but I don't know if there's ever been some official conversation about it, because that is very bizarre.
Okay. So he came in through Guatemala? Is Guatemala connected to the...
It is not.
Yeah, I was like,
but so I don't know how Guatemala got into the whole equation, but
Doc's Pen for $5 says, so his wife blurs out his hand tats for no reason. Oh yeah, I saw that, but look, I didn't know if people just took a picture and blurred out the hand tats from her Facebook feed so that they could say, oh look, she's blurring out the I mean, I didn't see her blur out the pictures. So, and I didn't see it on her original Facebook. Do you know this?
Mhm. No,
People
I
were
didn't know
sharing her. So his wife has a picture of him with the hand, and the tattoo on his hands have been blurred out. Or she puts hearts over him. You know, they do this.
Oh, I did see
cutesy
that.
stuff.
Yeah, I did see that. Yes. Yes.
So that,
Well, it's, the judge, again, was a Reagan appointed judge, even said this. He said maybe he's part of MS-13, maybe he's not, but he's got to be adjudicated.
mhm.
So
I personally think he's part of MS-13. So
Mhm.
I just think, I mean, it doesn't seem far-fetched to me. So
it wouldn't be far-fetched.
with all the stuff going on, but look, he may not be. I could be wrong. So
Mhm.
I don't necessarily know how much energy they want to put into making that assertion. I mean, they should
Well,
before
it
they
could-
put him in a prison, but not before they
It could
deport him.
100% come to bite them in the ass if they, if they actually produce receipts that show he was part of some gang or did some of these nefarious things they're talking about.
So it might be worth the investment then.
Well, for the Trump administration, yeah.
Yeah.
It could be definitely like a be careful what you wish for situation, but I don't know.
Vanessa
They all sign on it though.
Vanessa is a member for 17 months. Discipline equals freedom. Look at that. She's even in the higher tier. Thanks.
Thank you.
Says, come on, Adam. David didn't mean it. David Puff called me a conspiracy theorist in the chat, so I took his wrench away.
Oh my
it's like,
God.
It's caused a bunch of like strife.
Mhm.
I don't think that's a fair accusation, but I guess if he was being sarcastic or something, I don't know. I only saw the one super chat, or not super chat. I only saw the one chat where he was saying, I think he said Adam is conspiracy brained. And I was
Mhm.
like, fuck you. What the fuck? Look, I'm so far from conspiracy brain. I am not remotely conspiracy brained about anything. I'm the one that is going to tell you conspiracies can't exist because no one can keep their mouth shut. Right.
Right.
How many live streams have we done on Epstein? Like
A couple, I think, but not a lot.
Have we?
We did it. I thought we did.
Right.
Didn't we?
Okay.
Well, but we didn't cover it we didn't cover it from a conspiracy angle.
I don't think we've covered anything from a conspiracy angle.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
DocsPen for $5 says, no outrage for the 50+ migrants suffocated.
Puff says he agrees with you, Adam.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Well, why is he
There you go.
Why is he saying that in the chat then?
I don't know.
What was up with that? I mean, it's on the stream, so we'll look into it. I'll get my team of lawyers checking into it.
Right.
No, I don't care. Give him his wrench back. I'll give him his wrench back.
Go. Look at that.
No big deal. He was totally in the wrong, but am I not merciless?
Look at that. Look at the mercy. Mercy was granted. Yes.
Right. Oh, it's actually merciful.
Merciful. He said he was just joking.
Am I not merciless?
Listen, he was like Trump. He was just being sarcastic. Okay.
Oh, okay.
DocsPin for $5 says, no outrage for the 50+ migrants suffocating in a hot trailer found dead during Biden's open border in San Antonio in 2022. Jesus Christ.
Well, we didn't have to deport them.
There you go.
Oh,
But
no, that's bad.
Biden was just letting them into the country, all right? It was an open border.
Oh my! You promised you would never bring this up again, and
It was an
already
open border, Adam.
you can't do that. You can't.
I
That's
know, you're
not.
right.
That's totally unfair.
That's fair.
To
That's fair.
kick Ostras off and then just fucking mock him while he's not here is not fair.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. Occultology for $2 says, what if it was HH or 1480 on his knuckles?
Well, then everyone would know.
What does HH stand for?
Heil Hitler.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm stupid.
Yeah.
There you go.
That one you don't need the
There you go.
translation for. Yeah. And
Right.
I think 8 and 8 are the letter in the alphabet. Is
Right.
it? I don't know what the 1488 is, but it's some some Nazi thing.
It is some nuts thing, yeah.
Ostras for $5. Can we read this one? I feel bad for Ostras too, because I didn't.
Did you guys read the arrest report for Garcia? You guys are painting a very rosy picture, unless I'm missing something. We did read it. I'm pretty sure we read it on stream at some point in the past. It's eternally frustrating with the Garcia thing to just keep saying, like, these people deserve due process. Some of them are probably gangbangers. Some of them are probably not gangbangers. The fact that it's controversial to say that shows the headspace at which a lot of Trump supporters are at right now, where they they're so don't want to give the other side a win that they're willing to bend and break on those principles. NA for $2 says, any opinions on Pakistan and India going to war? I don't have any opinions on that. I don't know if you have any opinions on that, but
Pakistan, that is, it's weird because they exchange gunfire, and I mean that's a fucking. I kept thinking, yeah, maybe World War III is going to happen here.
There you go. Well,
maybe
I don't know enough about to know if anyone would care, or if it would just be a completely regional conflict, and we'll just kind of be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, aren't we talking about moving a bunch of our production to India because we're going to head with China now? Now, all of a sudden, India's in some skirmish with Pakistan. It's like there's no fucking safe place in the world now. Yeah. It's over Kashmir, I think. Did you see anything about that? I only saw one article about it. Yeah.
Right.
There was some exchange of gunfire between Pakistan and India over the Kashmir region. Oh, go ahead.
$5 says we have lattices, we have lattes and lace where the servers wear bikinis.
Yeah, and Lethal Strain sent me some pictures.
Right.
It looked like a good place to go. There didn't seem to be any political statements.
Okay, let me just someone in the chat, because it's like, oh my God. I want to try to say this without being like super condescending. Okay. There's like this is what happens. Someone forms a narrative, okay, about a topic, and then people just repeat it again and again and again. And then there's like people can't move past the talking point. Okay. So Andrew in chat says he had due process by 2 different judges. He had an order of removal just because you didn't get the outcome you want doesn't mean he had no due process. I've explained this every time this conversation comes up. Okay. He had 2 judges who had a bail hearing deciding while they were making a determination about whether he was going to be deported or not. He was asking for bail. Okay. Or I don't know I don't even know if it was a deportation hearing or if he was part of a criminal gang hearing, but he's having this hearing against him. He's asking for bail, which means the ability, if you know what that means, it means you have the ability to walk around out in the public while the courts are adjudicating whether you're guilty or innocent or whether they're going to deport you or not. He said, can I have bail? And the court said, 2 different judges said, you cannot have bail while we are adjudicating this issue because a confidential informant said that they believe you're an MS-13 member, and that's enough to deny you bail. That standard of evidence is not enough to send someone to prison. It is only enough to deny them bail. Okay. That's the difference. So if you just keep repeating that, it doesn't actually mean anything. You're not actually furthering the argument. Okay. Jack of some trades for 25 months says, happy Uno de Mayo, boys. I just want to celebrate. I've lost 55 pounds since January 2nd, 19 pounds ago. Have a great May. That's wonderful.
That is great. Yeah. Losing weight's not easy, especially 55 pounds. Wow. That requires a commitment, dedication.
Yes.
I like it.
Sandy for $5 says, my super chat money is specifically going towards the quote, let's get sushi for dinner fund. LOL. Well, there you go. I guess I don't have to ask what you want to do for dinner tonight.
And then for another sushi, huh?
For another $2 sushi. For Sammy put a bunch of sushi emojis in the chat.
When is your do you guys do like a date day or anything? specific day that's like your
Every
guys'
day. Every night is a date day, Adam.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Right.
That's so great.
Yes. Lucy Lundberg for $5 says, better get Sammy the edamame and sake too. That's right. Nothing gets the women crazy like edamame. Gotta get that fiber in them, right? Do you like sake?
I just drank some sake the other day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's terrible. I get headaches from wine though, which sucks. I got a terrible headache, but the sake was delicious. So
that does happen. Is it the sulfites or something?
Is it the Jordan Peterson stuff?
I thought it was the sulfites.
Don't let Candace Owens come at me.
Right.
It's just juiced socks.
Mm-hmm.
The sake.
Right.
Mr. Ubercross for $20. Look at that.
Thanks so much, Mr. Ubercross. Says, my wife and I argue about politics all the time. I, of course, am more measured and thoughtful. And she, of course, is emotional and unpredictable. Discussing politics and relationship is great. We've never been closer. I think you need very specific people. I kind of completely disagree with you. I think me and Sam like to argue and it's fine. And other people like to argue. I think most couples, their relationship would not survive them arguing about politics. That would be my intuition.
Okay. Well,
do you agree with that? Do you disagree with that?
Every couple's obviously different. So
mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be tough. It just depends upon how much they're into politics. But I know a lot of couples and they tend to agree on politics. And the more fervent they are, it seems like the more they agree. Right. They kind of spiral in their fervency.
That's what it seems like it happens most of the time.
Yeah.
It seems like in most relationships, like one person's like kind of political and the other person's not. And then like the political person like makes the other person more on their side as the relationship progresses. That's been my experience. The
political person is arguing for their politics?
No, like they make the other partner like become more and more aligned with their values and their arguments.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the case.
Yeah.
Because they don't care. They're not super invested in this.
Yes.
I mean, I'm fascinated by politics, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not super passionate about it.
Mr. Millman for $5 says, someone on X argued to me that Garcia may have had temporary tattoos, saying MS-13 on his hands when he was arrested and washed them off after.
Well, that would be the dumbest move. Like, why would you do that?
I know, it's ridiculous.
The whole point of hiding it with symbols is so that the cops don't know you're an MS-13.
Right. M8568 for 2 hours says, Sitch, sushi, he has the emojis, sushi, sake, or sandal and couch.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means.
It means go out or stay home, right? Flip-flops.
What is this? What does the flip-flop mean?
Just casual shoes, right?
Okay. Is that what it means? It means I'm going to get a hit. Going to hit with the chungla.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. Mr. Supercross for $10 says, I didn't listen to the first portion of today's show. However, the withholding order for Garcia was for Guatemala. Yes, like the third person to bring that up. Thank you. Not El Salvador. It does not appear to be a scrivener's error.
I don't know what Scrivener's error is.
I don't know what Scrivener's error is.
But we're going to know pretty quick.
Well, how does that, I guess, how does that make sense? Because I read the thing and the gang he was talking about was in El Salvador, wasn't in Guatemala. So I don't know how that make any sense. Lethal Strain for $5 says, due process in Article 3 courts is not the same as due process in Article 2 courts. And Article 2, being here legally is the only proof needed. Again, and I'll just repeat it for like the 100 millionth time, if these people are just being deported, it's very different than sending them to jail or taking away their children. So.
Yeah, that's bad.
Very different. Now, I don't know, there could be some legal shenanigans that because of the declaration of emergency or whatever the situation is, that, well, technically Trump has found some weird loophole where because he's sending them to jail or prison in a foreign country, it's okay through some legal process. And even if that's the case, I would say that that's incredibly immoral and despicable. If that's the case, if in America, the president has figured out some way to send people to jail for their entire lives and take their children away without the government having to prove in court of law that these people are criminals, I think that's despicable and evil. So I'm not gonna hold on the whole the legality. Like people be like weighing very heavily on the, well, technically, legally, it's okay. Maybe even if it is, that's still fucked up. That's still super fucked up. And it's weird that that's sort of the argument, but okay.
So this is like unforgivable.
Unless I get tax-free super chats, then it's all, I don't care anymore.
Oh, okay.
Then it's
We
fine.
can't joke
Then
about
it's totally
it if it's
fine.
like,
if we get tax-free super chats, I don't have to pay tax on my main source of income.
Mhm.
Trump can throw all the people and take all the children away. You can put them all in slave camps for all I care, as long as it doesn't affect me personally.
well, why get so angry about it then? Who cares?
Because I'm still paying taxes, Adam. I want my buyout from the
So
government.
you're really angry
I want
about
my
the taxes.
bribe. Okay.
No, it makes
I want
sense.
Trump to bribe me.
No, I agree. April 15th fucking sucks.
Val Van Gogh for $20 says, caught a Vosh stream and learned that birth rate is declining because capitalism is taking everyone's time, and also because people are too busy with all their fun modern activities.
What?
Those seem to be contradictory, but okay. I assume that was the point you're bringing up. Also, the term nuclear family came about because moms and dads didn't exist until the nuclear age.
What?
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Oh, that's so silly.
How does that even make sense when, like, I mean, I know Vosh is like a retard. I don't even know how that argument makes sense when, from his perspective, like when time periods where like people are more poor and more, I guess, constrained by the economic effects of capitalism in the past, they were more likely to have children, not less likely. So that argument makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, isn't capitalism supposed to be terrible for us? And now he's saying, oh, capitalism is making everyone's life fun. And that's part of the problem. We need to go get those women back in the Handmaid's Tale, right? Just concentrated on birthing children and not having fun modern activities.
Right.
That seems completely off brand for Vosh. How's that make any sense? Now he's pro-capitalism.
There you go. It's very confusing.
Mr. Ubercross sent 20 gifted memberships. Wow.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ubercross.
He would never call me a conspiracy theorist. That's a good mod right there.
There you go.
J-Mac, another good mod.
J-Mac, thanks so much for $10. Says, comma, don't come Trump. I'm going to come. There you go. Thank you.
Right. It's basically inviting him.
I know. 80 for $5 says, triggered Sitch is hysterical. Get some taco nigiri to go with the Sapporo.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's the have you actually had Sapporo is really good. I only had it recently. It's a beer.
Yeah,
It's
no, I've
Japanese
had a
beer,
bunch of
yeah.
Sapporo, but
Very good.
I'm not real good with those amber brews, so I
Really?
stay away. Yeah.
What do you like?
Maybe
the
they
dark
must be
beers?
the sulfates off the charts.
I don't think they have sulfates in beers, but
Oh, well, I don't know what causes my headache, but every time I drink one of those pale piss-colored beers, I get a massive headache.
wow, that's unfortunate. Those are my favorite. The piss beers, yes.
Yeah, I drink Newcastle or a Guinness, and
You
no
like dark
problem.
beers,
Yeah.
Right.
No
Interesting.
problem.
I don't know what exactly is the difference that would cause that, but
It's the piss water. That's what it is. Gives
well,
me a
there's
fucking
pee in the light
headache.
beer. It's the pee that's making you sick, right?
It's the piss water in the beer.
Right.
Ugh,
But taco
gross.
nigiri is like when you get I think taco. Yeah, I guess you do say taco. I don't know. I'm saying
Mhm.
incorrectly. That's when you get like the octopus that's on the little. It's like the octopus tentacle, and it's on the little like piece of rice with the little seaweed wrap on it.
I wouldn't.
No,
eat
I'm not a
that.
fan of it. I'm not a fan of it, but listen, stupidity makes me very angry. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. Bruins for 34 months says Sitch wins again. Easy. Thank you, Bruins. J-Mac for 2 hours says, and thank you, J-Mac. Go me, Sammy.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Hentai OG Teku 310 for $10 says, well, I believe Sitch is correct on this stuff. Love ya. Also, a comic came in last week, so I got to find time to read. Thanks, Adam.
No problem. Hope you like it.
J-Mac for 20.
You will absolutely love it. It's amazing. Sitch and I labored over the story for days and days and made sure that every detail was perfect.
That is true. J-Mac or Circuit 5, thanks so much. J-Mac for the $20 says, you should have me read super chats. I'm the best super chat reader, or so I'm told. Many people are saying this. A lot of good people, great people.
Well, look, I'll send you the link if I get another jam.
Thank you.
Lethal Strain for $5.
I sent you a link to the withholding order from the judge. Sits. Yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I saw that, and I looked it up because I was like, oh, that's super weird. Why is that? And I haven't really seen, as I said, I saw some people saying, is this a mistake? Is this some sort of confusion? So, or what was up with that? Why did they write Guatemala? I don't know. Though I think Mr. Ubercross said Mr. Ubercross is addressing this for $10. He says the Guatemala connection is that his family lives and has been living there. They've been suffering harassment from them in Guatemala. The social unit that protected him was his family. Okay, well, wait, now I'm just super confused. I thought it. Okay, now I'm gonna have to go back and read the whole thing.
David Puff for 10 Canadian says, thanks for the wrench back, Adam. I was just kidding around at a bad time. Still would have been fun for me if Vanessa had come on to read super chats. It's been quite a show. Thanks, everyone. It is funny because, look, I guess you're just kidding around, and sometimes I forget that it is basically chat's job just to take the piss out of us all the time and say bad stuff about us. So I should have realized that you were just joking around, but whatever. No big deal.
If it's to Guatemala and that wasn't a mistake, why would the Supreme Court say that they're supposed to facilitate his return? Wouldn't they just say, well, it's a different country, so it doesn't matter? Wouldn't that be what they would say?
Oh, okay, so they're trying to ship him. He wants to be shipped back to his family instead of to a El Salvadorian prison.
Well, I assume he would prefer to be in the country of El Salvador as opposed to the prison if he couldn't stay in America.
Yeah, but if his family's in Guatemala, maybe the hierarchy is Guatemala with his family, El Salvador as a free man, and then at the bottom would be El Salvador prison.
Right.
That would be the
no.
Yeah,
Yes, sure.
the worst case scenario. Alex Wright for $2 says Sitch is implementing remain in chat. That's pretty funny.
True.
Yes.
Zara Richards for $5 says, stopping by for a long break from the internet to say, congrats to finish the comic. Just got it, but I still need to read one of my comics. Well, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thanks for getting the comic. Mighty nice of you. All right. Oh, I guess we have some.
I think there was a
Streamlabs too. I did see a couple come through. So.
Okay. Fondue for $2 says, to me, malevolence is just another flavor of incompetence. I mean, I don't agree with that. I think it's important to make a clear distinction between malevolent actions and incompetent actions. I mean, unless you're saying, I understand in the outcome, you could say it's going to have a similar outcome. But in terms of people, trying to make fact claims, trying to understand what's motivating people, I think it's important to make those distinctions. Rhythmus for $2 says, Sitch, there's another option for why they're not revealing their data on the MS-13 tattoos. It could be they don't want to tip their hand on how much they know about the symbology of MS-13, so their info stays current.
I agree.
But actually that doesn't make sense at all, because they have the president of the United States of America saying these tattoos mean that he's MS-13. So you could release information about those specific tattoos, right? How would that tip America's hand or our hand on gang information?
Well, you could have a conflict between the gang people, the gang investigators, and the White House easily.
What do you mean?
They don't want what they know. They don't want their information publicized.
No, like,
who
okay, I
they
understand.
are,
Like, I'm not
what the
okay,
gang tattoos
I
are,
understand.
all of that stuff.
I'm
But
not.
then
I'm
the
not saying,
president
like,
comes out and says, "Look, I'm going to
hold on.
publicize this shit. Fuck
Right.
you." And they're like, going, "God damn, took
Hold
us
on.
years to get
Yeah, right.
that
I'm not saying that they
privileged
should be like,
information."
here's how we know this. Here's our sources. Right. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they presumably it'd be like, here's a bunch of other MS-13 people we've arrested and photographed as part of our compilation to make these reports that show that they all have the same tattoos or similar tattoos or something. Right.
The argument in the super chat is that they don't want to let MS-13 know how much information they have.
No.
That's
Wait.
the argument.
Okay.
Right?
What I just said doesn't have to do with what you just said, or it goes.
Well, I
you're
was
not
only
addressing. You're not
I was only
addressing what I'm saying. Okay.
I was responding to the super chat.
I understand that there could, like, theoretically, there could be information about how they determined that those tattoos were part of an MS-13 gang. That if they release that information, like they have a secret source, or they were able to cultivate people in the gang, or whatever. Like, I understand all that stuff. They shouldn't release that information, right? We all agree.
Yeah.
Shouldn't release that information. But they should also have we do know that, according to Trump, that the government supposedly thinks that those symbols are gang symbols. Okay, so that's not secret anymore, right?
Yeah.
So if you showed, right, so if you have pictures of other MS-13 gang members who have those same tattoos, and you have a compilation of them, that wouldn't be giving away any secret information.
Sure.
Okay.
Theoretically, I don't know the legality around that. I don't know if they can publicize other, like, people that they have with pending litigation or whatever. I mean, there might be problems there, right?
Right. I don't know. Okay. Again, I even grade this if they doesn't have to be public information. If they just had normal court proceedings, even if they were secret, and they said, we had people come in and do this stuff, I'd feel a lot more comfortable about it. Right. Even if we are not able to look through all the evidence ourselves, because there's some secret information that they don't want to get out.
Right.
Solid for George says, Scalia, quote, is well established that the Fifth Amendment entitles aliens to due process of law in deportation proceedings. Should also be noted that immigration judges are executive branch officials and not Article 3 judges.
Well, okay.
Right. Dr. Diller for Torres says, devoting energy to thinking about all the stupid things Trump does is exhausting. I don't know how you manage. It is very exhausting.
Who said that?
Politics itself is exhausting. It doesn't matter if it's Trump or the Democrats who live. It's all tiresome.
I'm not exhausted. This is exhilarating. I like it.
Adam says this, but I
But
can
what?
feel, I can hear the exhaust.
I'm going to see Thunderbolts. Is it
Oh, you're gonna go see Thunderbolts? Okay.
Yeah, look, there's conflicting information out there. It's got like a crazy Rotten Tomatoes score, a crazy high Rotten Tomatoes score, but I think Film Threat came out and did a stream and said, "Oh my God, this is fucking awful." They were like questioning. They were like, "Are we boomers now? Do we just not like the things that everyone likes?" So I'm gonna go check it out. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. WTF 1A for $10 says, if you want an interesting smoke, can't find the defense tool, check out Burlington versus Smoke. Check out the Burlington, Vermont. They allow MERS and non-Americans to vote locally. What is? So there could be a way to boost the numbers. What is Smoke? Oh, is that like where there's smoke, there's fire type situation?
Oh, okay. Maybe. They allow minors to vote?
Check out Burlington, Vermont.
Jesus
They allow
Christ.
minors and non-Americans to vote locally so they can boost the numbers. Well, boost the numbers in local elections, obviously.
Right.
Look, and this is a common response to this as well. So, but anyway. Lethal Strain for $5. Let's see here. El Salvador is holding him as a citizen for gang affiliations. It's a vicious circle. If I was IRA and deported to the U.S., I wouldn't be on the streets.
Didn't they actually move him to a prison that is a prison that's supposed to be for people that aren't gang affiliated? Because he's not even in. They moved that guy. Well, I don't know. Maybe they moved him back. I don't know if they did it just because that guy was coming down to meet him, but they moved him to a different prison. So it's, and I don't know if this is what you're saying, Lethal Strain. So I'm not addressing this to you. But I see a lot of people online make this argument. It's like, it's the top tier, like the most obvious ridiculous argument, which is people say, we're not sending him to prison. We're just deporting him to El Salvador and they're doing whatever they want to do with him. Okay. It's the most obviously bad faith argument on the planet. Everyone knows, it's been widely discussed. Trump administration has not hid this fact that they came up with a specific deal to send people to El Salvador and to put them in these prisons. Okay. That is the deal. To try to pretend, do this like obscuring dance where we pretend that's not the case is just so bad faith at this point. Right? We all know what's going on here. They're sending these people, whether they're El Salvadorian citizens or Venezuelans or other citizens, to go to this prison. That is the intention of doing it. They sent that woman recently to El Salvador. I'm sorry, to Venezuela, and she just went back to the country. She just was deported to the country. She didn't go to that prison. So. Sulla for $2 says, you missed a super chat mine from Sunday unless you thought it was too spicy. LOL. Also, wouldn't the plan be to let in more immigrants to red states and hope they eventually turn it blue? Well, that's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah. If I did miss your super chat on Sunday, it probably was a mistake. I don't remember seeing you say anything spicy, but.
Cameraman 502 for $5 says, unless Garcia was going to be removed to Guatemala, the withholding would not specify a different country than El Salvador. Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Lethal Strain for $2 says, not saying it's fair, just stating the situation.
Right. I understand. Yeah. I'm not blaming you. I understand that. But if you want to just say, well, like Trump has some legal merit to do it because he's found some weird loophole, you can make that argument. That's fine. But as I said, I think it's obviously immoral and ridiculous when people try to play these like word games. Seller for $2 says, I like actual justice warrior, but I don't think surge from the borders comment referred to migrants, but immigration judges and agents to process them. Yeah, my interpretation of the comment was that Biden was stumbling over his words and did not mean for Biden's to search for immigrants to search the border. But now I'm curious enough to go back and look to either confirm or find out that no, he did mean that. I would be very surprised if Biden intentionally was calling for people to.
Biden came out and told him to make a run at the border.
That's the accusation.
Impossible to believe.
Well, that's the accusation. So.
And this is in every single one of Actual Justice Warrior's videos?
It's in a lot of his videos.
Oh, really?
There's a clip of him saying "surge the border." Yes. It was during a debate too, I believe, a Democrat debate. Fondue for $10 says, on conspiracies, I just say this, even if you arrest everyone responsible for all the insert issues here, you would move the needle on the problem by maybe 1%. These issues are far bigger than what some people want. That is definitely true.
Cameraman 502 for $2 says, meaning the withholding was for El Salvador. Yeah, I think I got that. Unless Garcia was going to be removed to Guatemala, the withholding would not specify a different country than El Salvador. Yeah, so it's El Salvador on there. They got to change.
Okay, so you're saying that wait, I'm confused. You're saying even it said Guatemala, but it was a withhold of removal to not send him to El Salvador?
Well, no, his family was in Guatemala. So
right.
Supposedly he was saying deport me to Guatemala, but the order said El Salvador. So he didn't get the order changed and was deported to El Salvador. Okay. And then Trump came in with a Sharpie and he wrote prison right under El Salvador.
There you go.
Read El Salvador prison.
Probably didn't happen, but sure.
What do you mean? Of course it happened.
Right.
Oh my God. AKA Batusai for $10 says, Sitch, people like my father are not making any good legal arguments. Their arguments are that they are not U.S. citizens, so we should deport them. And who cares if they get due process? Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hearing too.
Yes, that is most people's positions.
Yeah, people don't care about the legal arguments. They're like, wait a second here.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's not. It's a argument about rights and principles and protections that people have from the government, which is what I was told for the last fucking 8 years was supposed to be the Republicans' bread and butter as the left became hyper woke. Was that the right cared so much about protecting individual rights of people, but
Americans, individual rights of Americans.
there you go, just Americans.
No,
right?
it is. That's exactly what they believe.
Well, first of all, I don't think that's exactly what they believe, but if this situation, well, whatever, we'll see. I don't think it matters. I think it's entirely just tribal at this point. But I think you skipped a couple. David K for $5 says, I was running for executive board for Say 721, plus locked down by a party that has run the union for decades. They won every seat. Oh, that sucks.
Insurgent
Corruption.
candidacy. I automatically support you. I always just support the underdog.
Look at these corruptions here. Jeez. Terrible. That represents county and city employees across Southern California. Look at that. Alex Wright for George says, day 22, no trade deals. Where's the India deal? I don't know. It's a good question. I heard that Trump had 200 deals ready. So I don't know.
We can't deny that his first 100 days were a massive success, though, right, Sitch?
I mean, a lot happened, right? Success for who remains to be seen. So,
well, I was judging the metric of entertainment.
Right. Oh, okay. That is true. Alex Wright for George says, you missed my chat. We love you, Sitch. No, did he? Oh, is that the one I just read? Yes. Sorry about that.
That was my fault.
Fast and Bulbous for $5 says, I'm 50 minutes behind. Will Sitch be arrested because he just scraped that collar in the marketplace of ideas? That's terrible.
That's not fair, too, obviously. It's like, I feel bad because Ostrich obviously, like, he's a moderator in our chat. He's been on before a bunch of times, so I don't think it's calling him a rape victim. It's like,
okay. I told you not to bring him on.
You, oh my God.
I said it. For
real? What are you talking about? You literally said send him the link.
That's true.
Don't fucking gaslight me, motherfucker.
You're right. I said both. I was being indecisive. That's fair.
I didn't.
Anyways.
That was not me just randomly sending some dude the link.
Okay. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Thank you for creatively generous donations. And we'll see you all Sunday where we'll probably watch Ethan versus Hassan.
Yeah, great show, guys. Come on. Don't take it too seriously. So
there you go.
All right. Later. No yelling at me before to try to get...
I mean, I'm waiting for the